I don't know what I'm doing here.
Right. Well, you should because
Yeah.
we're live.
Excellent.
We're here today on Harley Designs, Matt, Scale Builders Guild, and he's gone oddly quiet all of a sudden. And
It's because I got a new mustache on.
wow,
It's great.
wow.
I love it.
Listen,
It's the Harley Designs mustache, and you can get these on the Teespring store very soon. This is a good look for me. I'm pretty pleased with this. All right, enough of that. Ugh.
yes.
We've got John Robert Holmes from the Holmes Hobbies here today.
John,
Hi, guys.
yes, thank you for joining us on our little fun digital meetup.
I don't know what to call this. It's a takeover.
Yes, takeover.
Today, Mr. Holmes is going to take over. So, have at it, John. Enjoy.
Right? Yeah, we're just here.
Well, good to see everybody today. It's probably going to be a fun time tonight. I had to make sure that I mute the stream there because I was getting a little feedback. I'm like, who's doing this? No, it was me. So, yeah, newbie mistake on a live feed. This is probably my first live feed.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, well.
Yeah, thanks for having me in.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I wish that we could get right into what I really want to talk about, but we should talk to. Not that I don't want to talk to John, but there's a lot to cover tonight. So
yeah, I have a feeling that John, we're going to spoil any hopes of you ever watching the Flying Cars movie, but first we should get into things that are universally enjoyed by all instead of the.
That's true. It's probably more about John than it is about flying cars right now.
Agreed.
I guess that's good to hear.
John, where are you right now? Are you at?
I'm in the hobby house.
Okay. Which is an amazing concept for anyone who lives anywhere almost except the Midwest. So you should explain because the hobby I think it's everyone's dream.
Yeah, I mean the wife doesn't like it. However, she did suggest that I come over here tonight for the video rather than having the kids running around and sitting at the kitchen table or whatever. Oh, hey, my phone decided to play a random video there. That was interesting. Yeah. So
you're not. You have a separate home. Uh-oh.
Yep.
There you are.
Yeah,
okay, you're
back.
Fine
on mine, but
how about now?
Yes, you're good, John.
Yeah, you're good.
Excellent. All right. So I was talking about the hobby house when my computer decided to freeze there. So I've got this extra house. The wife really doesn't like it. But it's kind of nice to store all my toys. And it's just a little crappy house, extremely cheap. One of those ones that most people would probably have pushed over instead, but did a little bit of work to it. Got basically two sides. This is one side of my studio in here. And then there's the other side that has, the nice scrim table and the background and all that. And the way that we built the room, the lights flip in both directions. So right now the lights are all facing me. And when we're on the other side of the room, the lights face the other side. So this is where I come to play with toys. I've got about 80 tons of rock that I dump in the backyard. The YouTube channel has pretty much the whole process of all this. Had the city get after me for dumping so much rock, and I had to turn it into landscaping. So that was a good time. But put a whole bunch of ornamentals and turn it into a kind of a prairie landscape out front. And then dumped a bunch of grass on the gravel driveway because I had a gravel driveway going in the back. And the city didn't like that. However, you can have gravel in your yard that you drive over. So the guy was kind of like, hint, hint, wink, wink. You can have a yard that you drive through, but you can't have a gravel driveway in your yard, if you get what I'm saying.
It's like the scale rules. It's just a matter of interpretation. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Really
if Josh was there, he would have argued it much more efficiently for you, I'm sure.
Well, they had a pretty airtight thing there saying that I couldn't have another driveway at my house, and who am I to argue with a man that has the rules on his side, right?
Right.
What are these laws, though? I've never heard of anything like this. Did somebody complain?
Oh, yes, for sure. Little old lady across the street called in a couple of complaints on me. The specific law is that in the city you can't have a new dust-producing driveway, so no gravel, no dirt, no things like that. It would have to be paved, and it was also on the lot line, and you have to have certain setbacks and everything like that. So it was really the dust-producing surface that kind of got me. But then the guy was like, but you can drive through your yard if you want, if you're doing yard work, and you can have gravel in your yard all you want, but you just can't have gravel that you drive over this driveway.
Boy, she really did her homework, though, to like really nail it to you.
Well, the lady across the street saw me getting like 4 huge loads of rock in the yard, and she thought that I was going to turn the entire lot into like a gravel parking lot or something like that.
Yeah.
Although $5 per axle.
No. Yeah, most of it was broken boulders and shot rock, but she saw all the gravel and got very concerned. It's just a concerned citizen. She doesn't want her home value dropping, of course.
Of course not. No.
No.
So, I mean, now it looks all pretty outside. It looks like a normal home in the neighborhood, kind of fits in. So it worked out long run.
Yeah.
The hobby house is very discreet, and nobody complains anymore.
Gosh.
But
the hobby house, though, I like the sound of it a lot.
Exactly.
I really do.
What else would I call it, I guess? The Holmes investment property. That doesn't sound nearly.
Yeah, at least, and just the whole thing of it being a separate actual house that is just a place for toy in the Midwest. Like I can kind of see it because I know how homes in the Midwest are a little bit more attainable at a reasonable cost. It's
yes. This was cheaper than a car payment.
Right.
I mean, it was cheap enough that I could just push the house over and still be fine. And I haven't gotten there yet because it's kind of nice having a roof and everything like that. It's useful.
Right.
So it still has utility left in it, even though it smells like a barn, because it literally is a house that is sitting on cinder blocks, on dirt. No foundation, just cinder blocks and dirt.
Wow.
So I'm sure it is like a barn underneath the house. There's all kinds of animals.
Oh, man. Now I feel very anxious. I feel very anxious all of a sudden.
Right.
Real quick, Casey Benson wanted to let you know he sent me $5 to get you a haircut.
Oh, no. Well, I don't know if I can get a haircut from 6 feet yet.
No.
Long enough scissors?
I think we're all in that same boat. Where there's a lot of hats.
I made Nicole trim up the back of my neck yesterday. Yeah. And with the trimmers, and then I turned around and she literally just lunged at me for my majestic mustache.
She used to be a hairdresser, right?
Exactly. And you thought with that you would have thought she would have been quicker on but
it's been a few years. Her response may have been slow.
So yeah, she tried her best, but I was like, nope, it's going to stay another week now if you keep that up.
You should just, you know what? Never mind. I'll tell Nicole.
Oh, yes.
I'll give her some good ideas.
God, yeah.
All right. So
pretty sure she tried to feed me Benadryl the other day. But
let John introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do for those who might not know, other than own 2 homes and fight bylaw issues.
Yeah. Right. So I'm John Holmes with Holmes Hobbies. I started Holmes Hobbies 15 years ago, more or less as initially a way to just be able to afford the hobby because RC crawlers were quite expensive for me at the time. It's one of those hobbies that when you get into it, it's easy to get into it really deep, really quick. So I just gotten out of college, was trying to be a real estate agent, so I started Holmes Hobbies. It's kind of the side gig, the nighttime gig, and quickly became something that was a real business. Now we have, 10 employees right now. We manufacture brush motors in-house. I do a lot of design work, working on motor speed controllers right now. The motors are kind of the thing that I've been doing for, about 10 years. I've been designing motors a little heavier. And we specialize mostly in rock crawler motors and rock racer motors. That's just what I love to do. I don't produce things for objects that I don't play with myself. So, for me to say, I want to get into monster truck racing or something like that, although I'm sure our motors would work just fine in there, and there are guys that use them, it's not really what I focus on, so I don't push that so hard, I suppose. I like to use the motors myself and really, really like to use my own motors at the same time. So that's the gist of it, I suppose, with Holmes Hobbies, and probably why I am on such a show tonight is because of Holmes Hobbies.
Right.
No, it's not because of that at all.
Yeah,
It's
Well,
because of your
I
real
do
estate
have-
experience.
yeah.
I do have 4 other businesses that we could talk about tonight, but I don't think it's the time.
I mean, I'm big into disc golf too. So no.
Yeah, so I just started a new business, Grow and Throw, and it is a indoor growing supply. We have outdoor growing supplies as well, and disc golf shop, which is kind of a weird combination. And we fix electric bikes at the same time. So if you want electric bikes to be worked on, we can do custom builds. Just a little bit of anything and everything. Which the electric bikes have also been a hobby of mine for about a decade. Honestly, a lot of the work that I do on electric motor design and controller design have come from the e-bike world. Learning how things work on the e-bike level translates back into the hobby realm fairly well, but it's kind of different concepts. So having to get outside of my comfort zone for the e-bike side has really made it easier for me to go back to the RC car side, say, oh, well, that makes a lot more sense now because I understand it from over there. It's been kind of nice working with the e-bikes. There is that business too. Yes, disc golf and e-bikes and growing supplies.
Right.
And
Well-rounded.
chicken coop paint.
Yeah, and now chickens.
Well, we are on an industrial zone site, so we can breed, we could hatch, we could process chickens like the whole 9 yards, and we could sell chickens off of that lot there too. At Grow and Throw, the industrial zoning is so nice. So you want growing supplies, you want disc golf stuff, and do you want chickens? Maybe some compost from our chickens.
People, that's at the shop Vanquish. You've both been there before, but as we finish parts and they start moving through the process, we keep them in basically it's like an egg crate. They're a 6x5 egg crate, but they just hold parts so nicely. So we have these stacks of egg crates around. I mean, thousands of egg crates, and people always walk around like, what are you got going on here?
They got chickens hiding.
Right.
So in a previous job, didn't you design egg crates? I'm pretty sure you used to design egg crates, didn't you, Josh?
Right. Yes, I think that was right up there, somewhere in there. God.
Sounds like something he would have done, or like chicken. Maybe movement. If
Yeah.
there was some sort of like
flow
way that you could
the flow.
yeah, your laminar flow of chickens.
Yeah. But let's see. So John, you were when you started Holmes Hobbies, that was in the early days when we were all on RCC.
Yes. 2005 is when my business started. 2004 was when I got onto RCC,
Right.
and it was still pretty early. I think
Yep.
it was earlier in the year in 2004 when it had started. And at the time, of course, we were building with Clodbuster axles.
TXT.
TXT
and
axles.
Mad
I think
Force.
Twin
Force. Mad
Yeah,
Force.
Mad Force.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, the Mad Force axles, and then the TLT Rockbuster came out
Later.
shortly thereafter,
Yeah.
and we were throwing away everything from the kit except for part of the plastic housing and the ring and pinion, basically.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah, if that.
the stacks of chassis plates we would have just.
I still have them.
Oh my God.
I don't know why I haven't thrown them out, but I even got a lot. Some dude just sold me a whole bunch of parts, and in the box was like 30 pairs of chassis plates from the TLT. I was like, oh, I see what you've been doing here.
Because we used to be able to buy TLTs from Ultimate Hobbies for $69 shipped.
Yep.
Wow.
And for a while, Stormer was blowing them out for like 50 there at the end, and just everybody was buying them up.
Yeah, we were just anything we
And
could.
you've got some guy who's holding on to them, who's like, someday it's gonna come back.
Yeah.
I
I'm
still
gonna
have
be able to
a few
sell
in
these
box.
for $100.
Yeah, I still have a few new in box.
Real. Gee. Oh my God. The belt drive. I remember when I got my very first TLT, I actually assembled it like
Wow.
as it was supposed to be.
Wow, I never got to there. I saw one of the buddies that assembled his, and it was just a basket case of problems on the rocks.
Oh God, they were awful. Well, they were
Oh,
supposed to be a
man,
monster
yeah.
truck. They were
Right,
a 1/18
like a
scale
mini-
monster truck.
Yeah, and for that purpose, it's actually pretty good.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
The pulling scene actually still uses those rims and tires
Yeah,
a whole lot.
I know they're desirable.
Yeah, yeah. I guess they hook up small diameter, so it's got great torque.
Right. Just the
Ah,
right size and shape, and they shave them, and
Yep.
yeah, that's the weird, And then the TLT shock was like the first scale shock. Turn
Yeah,
down
people
TLT
turn
shocks.
down. Yeah,
oh, hey, I have a set of those still. I do. I
I'm
use
at the
them.
wrong
I
house
use
for
them on my
this.
On
scaler.
my scaler.
All my old stuff is still at my house, and all the new stuff is over here at the hobby house.
Well, I see a recluse behind your right shoulder. So,
Yes,
or
but that one is old.
yeah, your other right shoulder. That one. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. This one is an original that Bastard built. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Nice.
Wow.
Oh, it's
Vintage.
pristine even. The skid plate's not even
Yeah, I mean, it's
scratched.
a little dusty, but I took the original panels off so that I wouldn't get them too bad, and put some new panels on. This one was built by Chip Cross,
Oh,
actually.
wow.
He did the interior,
No
and
kidding. Chip. Wow.
yeah, he traded me some stuff at a Midwest scale or a Midwest championship. The one that was in
Arkansas?
no, up north,
Oh, Omaha. Yeah, it
Omaha.
would have
Thank
been
you.
in 2010. Or
Yep,
wait,
that'll be about right.
no. Yeah,
Nine
nine.
or 10.
2009. 2010 was Arkansas.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, good guy. I was trying to trade him a whole bunch of stuff for him, give him some money. He's like, I don't, this is just two. It was like 250 or something like that. That he was fine. I was like, let me give you some more motors or something. This feels wrong. He's like, don't worry about it. All right, that's nice of
Just
Chip
for the
to steal.
record,
Yes.
That,
ELT right
didn't even
there.
have it looks like it has remnants of a scale sticker on there.
Yes. It probably was a Skyjacker sticker
Yeah.
or a
Right.
Bilstein. Anyway, I've got 4 of them, and yeah, they're pretty useless by today's standards.
Yes.
But man, oh man,
That was you had
everybody
to have those
used
to
them.
be cool back then.
Yep.
I mean,
Well,
They
hey,
hold
you're,
oil.
you're still no. Of course not.
weren't they a grease
No.
shock?
Yeah, they're a
Yes.
grease shock. There is a, I think, what kind of spring did I put in there?
What?
This might be an RC 4-wheel drive replacement, but it works.
I think I'm just shocked for a second. What are you drinking, John? And out and
Some
And
homemade
then
fries.
I've got a couple of questions we need to ask.
I
you
need to
too,
get
so-
through. Yeah, I haven't looked at the comments at all yet.
Yeah, I've got Thomas Woolsey paid to ask
I think
questions.
yes,
so-
and I've got two here as well. Oh, from Team Garage
Yeah,
Hack that
okay.
paid for questions. So,
Oh, all right.
ask John about his hobby house rental opportunity. This from the TGH guys, Colorado. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I used to have a roommate here, but he got engaged and moved up in life. So it's just me and my toys now. No rental opportunity available.
no more. I can just. I mean, that whole story sounds like a much better premise than Flying Cars was. Someone should have started there. So, but oh, I'm frozen. I
Don't
can
get me
fix it.
started. Don't get me started. John, Thomas Woolsey wanted to know: are your motors made in the U.S. or China? I already know the answer. How can you speed up delivery? They have pent up demand. Please help.
Yes. So it depends on the motor. We can say that there are a lot of motors that are made in Japan and China, and there are a lot of motors that we make from essentially globally sourced parts here in the United States. Well, globally and US sourced parts. So for the hand wound motors, the cans I'm going to get from Sagami, or I'm going to have a machinist make. It depends on here in the States or China or Japan or Taiwan, depending on where the price points need to hit. And then we will assemble them in-house from typically Japanese and American parts like American wire, American solvents, American glues, stuff like that. And then for our hand wounds, of course, we do all the assembling. So it really depends on which model. I have to work within the market price, essentially. And if everybody is making a certain model of motor in China, there's no way that I can come in with an American-made model and be price competitive, unfortunately. I really wish that I could, but that's kind of the nature of the market. So we have to do what everybody else in the market does. And in the meantime, I just design everything myself that I possibly can. And that gives us, you know, a little bit of an edge, I guess, because we can make them exactly how we want them and not just depend on other people's interpretations of what they think that we need, which never is right. I've found. This wasn't.
Yeah, and that
You stick to what you're doing.
right. That seems to be the, you know, the biggest difference is the amount of things that people they'll find a motor that they can, or, you know, they'll find some options and they'll pick the one that they like, and then they'll represent that as their choices. And I think that's always
Right.
the biggest differences is when you're actually trying to develop something based on what you know, and you're taking that experience into things. But I think that's where
Oh
we
man,
find the
I
difference.
wish I could talk about the next motors. I wish I could talk about the next motors that I was working on. Oh my
You gotta
god!
clear it with the boss.
It's-
Is that what it is? Let me. How can
Yeah, what's the
how can I
holdup?
peer pressure you into
yeah,
this? Right?
what's the holdup? There's lots of holdups. There's lots of holdups. But having our ESC done, which we should have by the end of the year, that's gonna allow. Oh man, oh boy, one of these days, so much. We can get off the Chinese connection. Let me just say
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
you know right
Yeah.
now just with how everything's going and supply chain issues that so many people are running into right now. It's just like, you know, we're still producing parts every day, and which is here in Sacramento. So we're being able to feed a lot of stores and distributors, retailers, our products, but there's some parts that are getting a little bit hard to find or pick. You know, electronics is a big one of them.
Yeah.
So, you know, that it shows you how much we are dependent on certain things in certain areas of it. That
Oh yeah, it's certainly a global supply chain in pretty much every market,
right.
whether it's food or whether it's toys. And you know that's really the downside of a global market. The upside is, of course, that you can get goods for lower prices, and a lot of times you can have, you know, short delivery times for them. And the downside is when everything comes crashing down, that suddenly nobody can get anything.
Right.
Uh, yeah, and I wish that I could say that our supply chains are speeding back up. But it started with the magnet factories. They were actually one of the first that were hard hit. And when the magnet factories slow down, everybody else making motors has to slow down because you can't make motors without magnets.
Right.
You know, a lot of the other places, you know, they stock up for the laminations. For example, they stock up lamination material a lot more just because of how it's made. It's made in huge rolls, and so you have to buy a whole bunch of it. Whereas the raw materials for the magnets are more or less made to order, and you can have some raw materials on the shelf, but it's still not the same. You still have to do a lot of processing to get it to the finished product. And that's where most of my supply chain has stemmed from as far as slowdowns, is that the magnets themselves have been unavailable for 2 months or so, and then that put everybody else out.
Right.
And right now, that's the bad thing about permanent magnet motors, is that China is essentially making the majority of magnets in the world.
Yeah. I mean that's been that way for a lot of years. I mean,
Yeah, they manipulated the market pricing.
Early,
They
yeah.
were subsidizing market prices really heavily, and they literally drove the last refinery out of the United States. They drove them out of business, and then they came over and bought all of the refinery's equipment, and shipped it right across the ocean as soon as it happened.
Wow.
I watched it happen. I was like, oh man, I know where this is going. And then right after that, they jacked their magnet prices up again. You know, they played the market.
right.
It's,
That
Yeah, I
what-
mean, I think that it's a good education for people too, because there are so many parts that go into making something that is, you know, reasonably small. But there are so many things, so many raw materials, that I think it's a really good education for people to understand that sometimes things will take longer. You know,
Yeah.
patience is a virtue, and it's definitely something that I think a lot of us are learning about in this current climate.
Yeah, got to be patient. That's for sure. Not much that we can do, unfortunately. I've been doing as much as I can in house, and of course, we're still hand winding motors and doing that side of it. But I mean, there's a lot of companies that are just sitting on their hands, unfortunately.
Right.
Don't like to see it, and people don't like to see that they can't get things that they want to buy. It's something that we've gotten used to, is having nice, healthy supply chains. This has really shown the fragility of it. It really has.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
absolutely.
I have to deal with it as my day job, as you know, I have to see it. So it is what it is.
And we'll get through it.
Yeah, yeah. we will.
Positivity is key.
Yeah.
Josh,
Sorry.
did you have any other questions on your side, real quick?
I had an echo issue or something that had popped up, so I
Okay,
trying to fix that, but
gotcha.
I had turned down my volume just a little bit. Hopefully that helps.
so
BT threw me $25. Thank you very much. He wants me to grow a mustache. No problem.
do it. You can be
Very easy.
That's instant gratification. See, this is what's wrong with the world. Instant gratification.
Right. Everybody wants this right away. No one's willing to wait to grow a mustache anymore.
Well, it looks like you got the solution. Did you say that you were going to offer these on Teespring?
Yeah, these are available right now on the Teespring store. They get a little loose, so no mustache rides available this week.
Oh.
That's the price to pay for convenience.
Yeah, the just the trying to turn that down a little bit. Anyway, to see how far you've grown Holmes Hobbies, though, has been,
Oh man.
and it's just the popularity of this market is another just kind of a crazy portion of it. And getting into such a specific small market as a small business, and you were able to kind of feed the market and then grow with it and turn into
Right.
one of the markets that became one of the most popular markets in a way.
From everything that I've been told by larger manufacturers and distributors, crawling is still the majority of the ground market. So more than 50% of all of the ground market, all the bashing, all the racing, everything else combined, more than half is crawlers, which is pretty amazing.
Okay.
Not a
That
surprise.
is very amazing. That surprises
Although,
me.
the joke has always been that crawling was a fad.
Yeah.
But if you think about the popularity of crawling, there's so many different aspects to it. You have the guys that just want to go out and trail. You have the guys that want to play, dollhouse. You have the people that just like to wrench and just love building rigs. Of course, there's the scale side where it's like, I've got this, full size 4Runner out in my driveway. I would love to have a scale version of it. So there's that modeling aspect. There's just so many different aspects that gets so many different people into it. I think that's one
Right.
reason why there's.
And I think that's part of us.
4x4 is pretty cool.
Us being in it.
Yeah,
for
I
so
think you've just
long.
described the three of us pretty well
Right.
too.
Well,
Yeah.
and we've been in it so long. Like, I know. Well, John and I, at least, we call everything crawlers. When it's like,
Yeah.
Even if it's a scaler,
yes,
the word that I can't
a
stand.
scaler,
Guilty as charged.
just anything that is more scale or more scale off-road focused, like it's
Crawler.
yeah, that's a crawler to us. Like crawler.
They're all
That's-
crawlers. I have a bunch of crawlers here,
Right.
if you haven't noticed. Some of them are more scale than others.
Yeah, I've got a few scalers. I don't have crawlers per se.
Right.
Well, yeah, I do. I got a few
like to
crawlers.
I'd like to see these scalers one day.
Right.
That would be neat.
BT had donated $25 to me to turn this into a handlebar, and you have to give people what they. So that's where we're going to start next week. We'll see how long Nicole. I'm going to come next week though. And I think half of it's just going to be gone, and Nicole's going to be behind me.
Or no, she won't be behind you because she will have left you. She will have found a better place to go.
Let me see if I can get one.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like
You guys don't want to see me.
I
with a
had this
mustache,
all
I
along.
guarantee
It was
you
just surrounded by other,
Yeah, then you never
Yeah, but
notice.
it evened it out. It didn't make it so
so creepy.
weird.
It's just,
Yeah. Next week on Scale Builders Guild and Harley Designs Talks Mustaches.
yes. God. But how in this whole the global situation we're in currently, John, like how has it been for you guys to be able to operate in a way that has been safe and still meet as much demand as you can with supply chain issues?
Yeah. The toughest part has actually been customer service right now. because we've got two guys in the office that handle customer service, Jeff and Justin. And Justin lives close. He's been able to come in. We only have a couple of guys in the building, pretty much. At one point in time, everybody works on their own schedule whenever they want to come in, essentially. And that has allowed us to operate. But Jeff lives in Jefferson City, which is, it's probably a 40-minute drive for him, 45-minute drive for him. And on top of that, his family works in a hospital. And so he felt like it probably wouldn't be appropriate for him to continue coming in. So he's been working remotely, which is great, but it's really hard to keep up on the work remotely because there's a lot of repairs coming through and questions about orders and, just the way that it works, you kind of have to have interaction with the office to really work in the office effectively. So that's been the hardest part.
Right.
In keeping up with the customer service. And then on top of that, a lot of the shipping issues have caused our customer service load to go up, almost fourfold in emails just from people asking, hey, where's my package? Right. Unfortunately, we don't have any answers for them. That's been one of the hardest parts. As far as the supply chain issues, we ran out of some of the more popular stuff a lot faster than what I would have liked to see. Along with everybody staying home and increasing the demand a little bit, there's, of course, the longer lead times. And so, we should have been refreshed mid-April, early April on things that were still out of stock. For instance, servos, revolvers, and puller motors right now are the three items that everybody's like, when is that going to get back in stock? Well, they were supposed to be in stock 4 weeks ago. Then they were supposed to be in stock about a week ago. And now, hopefully they're going to be in stock by the end of the month. But who knows at this point? Right. It's just a waiting game again. But fortunately, I was able to bulk up enough at the beginning of the year because I always do that with just the way that the sales cycle goes. Everybody gets a refund checks. Right. And, February is usually pretty solid.
Right. And Chinese New Year is a huge part of the supply chain in our industry. And if you're not bulked up before Chinese New Year hits at the mid portion of February, isn't it early February?
Yeah, it is early February. 3 weeks.
Yeah. If you're not bulked up before that, you add a 3-week delay. Then, and then you have the whole thing with Chinese New Year. It's usually they take a month off as a factory in China, for people who don't know. And then what happens is that, and it's not just China, it's other countries around there that have a similar, what happens after that is a lot of the people see that as like a new beginning time, and they just won't go back to their job, and they will go find another job. So a lot of these factories after these Chinese New Years are having to restaff with people, and so like the ramp
and retrain,
the ramp up back into production after that time of the year, it's like you can easily lose 6 or 8 weeks almost of in your schedule if you didn't have things done before that. It's just a crazy part. And
it took me hobby. It probably took me 8 years to get to the point to where I was able, that I saw that. It was definitely like an 8-year learning curve where I realized, wow, I really need to be on top of this a little better so that we don't have a whole bunch of months where we're out of stock on stuff, because it's really hard to run a business and survive if you don't have things to sell.
Yeah.
It's kind of a key point. Yeah, we were fortunate enough that I bulked up really heavy, really heavy. And so we've been sliding by, even though we haven't had restocks on literally anything since February. So it could be worse. It definitely could be worse. So feel really fortunate to be in the position that we are in, that we still do have stuff that we can make and that we can sell. And of course, I can be designing in the meantime, and getting more prototypes. So we haven't slowed down on that side.
Right, like that thing that you're dying to talk about.
Things that I'm dying to talk about, and I can't. Some things maybe I could. I'll talk about two new products that are coming out. Anytime now. I can't tell you when. It's going to be any day now. Is new Crawlmaster Sport 550 models in 8-turn and 10-turn. So really fast. The 8-turn drives like a brushless motor. It's really fun.
So Crawlmaster, so that's a 5-slot 8-turn?
550.
Yeah. 5-slot 550 in a sealed can. Right. It's a sport version, which actually makes it last a lot longer. So if we do an 8-turn in a hand wound, it's going to burn up the brushes pretty fast. But the 8-turn in our sealed can, because I did a pretty hard brush compound, actually lasts a really long time. We've had great luck with the testing. The TRX4, it's really fun with a 2-speed. honestly. And the 10 turn is really fun too. With the 8 turn, it's just that extra pep
What is that?
that nobody needs.
What's that?
But everybody wants.
That can so an 8 and a 10 turn. Like I know the 13 turn to 27
Yeah, the conversions
turn,
of
but
something.
what does the 8 and 10 go to in a typical 3-slot armature?
Let's see. In a 550, I almost need to write it down and do the math.
Right.
So a 12 turn is like a 21 turn.
Right.
The 10 turn is going to be about like a 19 or 18 turn 550.
Okay.
And then the 8 turn is going to be like, 16, 15 turn 550.
Okay, yeah.
So pretty fast.
Yeah, those
I've
are
got
fast
one
motors.
of the 550. Hold on.
Oh, he's wearing pants. Thank God.
Oh, yes. Almost exclusively.
Ooh.
I've got the Torque Master Sport 550 12 turn in the drifting tuk-tuk.
Yeah.
To your
that's
push that
fun.
to your left. Your left. Yeah. That is hideous.
This is amazing.
That thing
I
looks
see the big
so
sponsor
fun.
sticker on it.
Oh yeah, look at that.
good.
The Holmes Hobby.
Yeah. That looks so fun though.
Yeah, the drifting 3-wheel tuk-tuk.
So those sliders so it doesn't tip over?
These up here?
Yeah, the underneath. No, they're not.
no,
It looks
that's
like
that's a
wow.
shorty
That's a
pack.
battery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a shorty pack.
So it's a slider.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a slider.
This thing does
Very
not get enough
dangerous.
traction to roll over.
Good.
Yeah, it's
That looks fun. Did it come with the drift tires on
yes.
it?
This is a purpose designed drift tuk-tuk.
I might need to get one of those.
It is worth every penny.
That looks so
I
fun.
put a
You guys can enjoy your drifting together.
I put a Yokomo gyro in this thing and it changed everything. I had a different gyro in it and someone had recommended this one, whatever, and I put it in there and it makes it so much fun. Like I actually do enjoy drifting. So, but it does have a
RC drifting tuk-tuk,
Yes.
right? That's what I'm looking for.
yeah, it's a Usakani.
Yeah, that's right up
Yeah.
your alley,
Yeah.
Josh.
Usukani.
You
All
suck.
right.
You
Usakani.
suck.
So,
I've got a question here from RCing Around America for you, John. He wants to know what ESC he should use in an XR10 using two, it says devolver, but I'm sure that's revolver motors.
Mm-hmm. I would personally use 2 of the Sidewinder Micro 2, I believe is the newest model. It's got the same brain board as the Mamba X, the Mamba Micro X, the Sidewinder 4, so it has that improved startup for sensorless. So Sidewinder Micro 2. Let me hop on my
is there
website.
two?
That's I believe so.
Isn't it just the Sidewinder Micro X?
That's the cased version. They have an uncased
Oh.
version.
Oh wait, this is the
Just check.
Mamba Micro X.
Yeah, that's not the same
That is
thing.
not
Which would also work really well, but if he's doing a MOA setup, he wants nice and light.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, the Sidewinder Micro 2. That is the new teeny tiny good sensorless version.
Is that like the replacement for the Mamba 25 days?
Yes, exactly. It's the same footprint. It does, let's see. Never mind. I was going to say it looks like it has extra wires on it, but it does not. So yeah, it's the same footprint as the 25 was, pretty much.
So yeah, that was always the go-to motor or the go-to ESC back in the day. It was
Yeah.
I mean, so many Mamba 25s around.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of them that are running.
I believe it. That and the what was the original ESC we used with Outrunner motors back in like the super days? What
You talking about the Quark?
the Quark.
Yes, yeah. So that was a Korean company. They had the Quark 22 and the Quark 33.
Right.
We typically use the 33s because they were the same size. So why not? And they didn't have an audible frequency to them besides like a really low growl, and the startup was really, really good.
Yeah.
For back in the day. These days, it still is kind of stuttery. I've still got a few models.
Do you?
And they went under. Well, they didn't go under. They got absorbed into the South Korean military. and I could no longer buy the speed controllers because now they were military. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and they were like, "Yeah, sorry, nothing that we can do." That was pretty much
Yeah,
that.
that would have. They
Gone,
must have got.
Link.
And they must have kind of got bought up around like what, like 08, 07?
Yeah, yep, it was about that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that. That was kind of right in the like I graduated college in 2006, got a real job in 2000, there right after, well, 2007 in January.
Real job.
Yeah, actually real job. And then, that's when I like started to make money, and I was like, oh, I can buy things. Like, this is weird. Like,
money is exchanged for goods and services.
yeah, and like, you went home after work and you didn't have homework. You just got to be at home. I was like, wow, this is
You got to play with toys.
like
Yeah.
I got so much
I have
time.
money and time. I'm like, this is why people have kids. They don't know what to do. Like, just
Right. Right.
Yeah.
See, I've thought many times that I should have been an engineer instead of getting an undergraduate in banking and finance. But I've thought about this many times, and of course, hindsight's 2020. If I had been an engineer, I would have made enough money to where I didn't have to start Holmes Hobbies. So it was good that I came out of college absolutely broke, not being able to get a good job because I have a banking and finance degree and I'm doing real estate.
yeah.
So
And,
it was actually a good thing that it didn't work out that way.
and if I'm not mistaken, you came out of college right about the same time I did, which was the best time to be in finance in a big crash.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So my undergraduate was 2004, and then I got a MBA in 2007.
Yeah, because
I'd have to look at my diploma. I don't remember. 2010, maybe 2010.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
You guys are so young. Feeling very old all of a sudden, honestly. Like, easily 8 years older than both of you.
That.
Yeah, don't let my beard fool you. I'm not 40 yet.
Right?
Ah,
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Yeah, me either.
I'm dying on the inside.
I'm still.
It's just a number.
I'm still in my mid 30s.
That's true. It is.
Yeah.
I don't know how long
Good
I'll be
for
able to
you.
hold on to that, but maybe
So you can calculate how long.
maybe another.
There are.
I just don't know when I can technically stop saying that.
Yeah, you can't forget things already. I've forgotten everything.
Right.
So no memories.
So yeah, that one thing I think we should do though is I think we should make John take a spin around some of the vehicles behind him there.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would love that.
So you can pick some.
He's just
crowd
gonna, he's
favorites.
just doing a turn.
Yes.
He's just gonna
Yeah.
turn around. I'm back. That's it.
All right, so this is a UC Fab rig that I had them custom build for me around the SCX10 2 kit when it came out. So it's got the CMS on there. Okay, there we go. Shocks are just a little locked up. It's been on the shelf a little bit. I need to send it in. I ripped the servo mount off, unfortunately, wheeling it a little too hard. But all full tuber build, has integrated bumpers and all that jazz. Does not have an interior for it. I think I was just going to put a Yeti interior on top or something like that. But real fun rig. One of my favorites. I don't get to wheel it enough, but it's it's a good shelf clean at the same time. Let's see. Hey, here's a nice one. This one also needs just a wee bit of work. I stole some parts.
Is that a
off of it,
Bastard
unfortunately.
Junior?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
This is a Bastard Junior, and this one was handmade by Bastard as well. So I have a bunch of the Carnage crew that are originally built by Bastard. A couple of these guys. I've got some of the, what are they called?
There was the Hustlers.
Yeah, the Hustler. I've got one Hustler that he made, then I've got a Chinese made one that I'm going to convert to a 2.2. But this is probably one of my favorite looking rigs. Old comp crawler.
Yeah, the Bastard Junior was cool for the day for sure.
Everything's a crawler. This has AX10 axles on it. I think it does have the updated cross pins though. It's not just like the set.
It doesn't just
the set screws up flats. Oh yeah, that's a fun rig though. It's I need to get this one back out. I need to do a lot of work on a lot of rigs right now. It's gonna be the point
Now
of this
what's the vintage on that? When would that have been something you would have run?
Probably 2008, 2009, right when the AX10
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah, that was kind of because the Bastard was the predecessor to the Bastard Junior, of course, and the Bastard chassis was a super chassis. You would have seen it with Clodbuster axles, or wait, sorry, no, that's not. It was the Hustler was that.
Yeah, the Bastard was the full size rig that this is
That's
modeled
right.
after.
Yes.
Yeah, this was the Junior. We got this little comp rig here, a little 2.2 MOA. I cannot remember.
That looks like an RC Bros chassis.
It is.
William.
The name of the chassis, though.
Oh God, I drew it.
You drew it, but you cannot remember the name.
Well, usually what somebody would do is send me a napkin sketch of it, or a picture from their standing on their table chairs. Like, can you draw this? And then.
And there's always a foot in the bottom of the photo.
Exactly. Taken on top of the washing machine.
Or in the washing machine, better yet.
Here was my first scale rig, a CCO.
Oh, a scaler.
The Walmart New Bright.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And then I copied whoever it was that made the first one with a Velcro bounce scat band, I want to say, down in Florida. Yeah. It's got the Velcro mounts. This one still has a Novak crawler motor in it.
Oh wow!
Nice. Wow.
The early brushless days.
Is that the 17.5?
Yep, that probably is. It's either 17.5 or 21 and a half.
I was gonna say 17.5, 21.5 were the two you could get.
Those are the only two you could buy.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
What was the one that came out after that Novak one that was just a total nightmare brushless?
The Goat.
The Goat.
Yeah. It just had a lot of bugs to it. The two pole combined with how they switched the motors, it pre-coasted really bad. So as soon as you get on throttle,
right,
downhill.
Yeah.
Which honestly, we didn't have a good fix until recently,
right,
when the Mamba came out and the Sidewinder 4, and they had the
active drag,
synchronous switching, and then of course the Axe also has that holdability with the way that it drives as well. But now the market's a long way, of course. But we've had, almost 2 decades. I guess we're coming up on 2 decades of crawlers.
Yeah, the kind of the early days of, we would have never thought that brushless would have actually been an option at the time.
Oh no.
I mean,
no.
I actually remember when the first Tekin Rock 412 got announced, and we saw like the price of the motors. Like, who's going to pay that much money for a crawler motor? Like,
yeah.
And then
you drove one.
And then we started seeing all these other ones become available. Like, oh, and they all started being like motors actually designed for our area, and it's like, oh, I see the
now
reason.
It makes sense.
Yep. Everything changed.
These are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was certainly people that were spending $80 on hand-wound motors, and when you consider that you wear out a couple of those over, a year, a couple year time, depending on how much you're crawling, then the value shifts. And since the ESCs have caught up on the control, honestly, just really in the last few years, we can actually say that brushless is pretty much on par with brushed as far as the control and the feel of it. Although for a competition situation, people still choose brushless or brushed motors more often now. Although the Outrunners are gaining favor again, which I find is kind of interesting. I don't like how they perform when you get really bound down. So it tells me that course designers are not actually designing very hard courses. It's more of like winching courses.
Yeah.
They don't get you bound down in the rocks like we used to on the comp days.
No.
Where the Outrunners still would not perform. They'd end up just breaking parts before you get yourself out of the crack. So it kind of tells me what the course designers are doing these days. That so many people are able to go to a sensorless, brushless, even though they are great. They're great, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But there's certainly a level that the brushed overperforms at.
Yeah, that's the one thing with scale comps to me. It's like I wish that they had it was more common to use like a no winching gate area, no winch zone.
Yes.
You know, like
I would fully support that, because winching is one of those things that for me takes a lot of the challenge out of it. Let's drive the course. You know, let's
Yeah.
not. There's a man with a stick with a hook on it over there, and you're gonna have to use it.
yeah, you know, the winch stick thing. That's a whole nother and
Yeah.
that's like a bi-coastal situation. You know, like I know when
Yeah.
some people in certain areas are like,
There's not many in Missouri, I can
wait,
tell you that.
what?
There's not many on our end of the coast, that's for
You know,
sure.
but like Colorado Nationals in 2012 was the first place I saw it, and we're just like, I was like, wait, what's this guy with the stick? They're like, yeah, that's where you hook your winch. I'm like, that seems like
What?
cheating. They're like, where else are you
Yeah.
gonna hook it? Like this is
Into the ground like a
like,
normal
they're like,
person.
this is one rock. Like, like we're just on a rock here. Like, it's just the size of a football field. Like, you can try and find a place. You're gonna need to carry a scale ram set.
You need 35 feet of winch cable, but you'll find a spot.
Well, this is a perfect time to plug the WRCCA performance scale class. It is essentially a scale class with no winching and few rules. And I have honestly not competed in it, so I couldn't tell you much about it. But it doesn't have winching. I can tell you that.
Hold on, this is a real thing, or is this a joke?
No, this is a real thing. So originally, the comp crawler rules were underneath the US RCCA, United States Rock Crawler, whatever.
Radio control.
I took it over for a couple of years. And it was, essentially RC Crawler owned it, and Fish Max owned it, and I owned it because he wanted to get out from underneath it and was just going to let it die.
You missed one in there.
Oh, did I? Oh,
for those that remember.
Yeah, Bigfoot owned it for a day or whatever.
Like 3 or 4 months, 6 months maybe. 2009 Worlds.
Yeah. So there was that that ownership, right. And then Fishmax had it, then I had it, and then now it's I'll say owned because I sold it for an extremely low price. That was a tenth of what I bought it for. Fishmax sold it for a tenth of what he bought it for. So it's only gone down 100-fold in price.
Pretty soon you'll be paying someone to buy it from you.
Yeah, but it's essentially ran by a group of 5 people that are around the world at this point, because the US RCCA rules had been adopted by all the countries, essentially. I am not aware of any country that even has their own set of rules that are a little bit different. I think maybe France has like a little bit of tweaks to their rules or something like that, because France always kind of does their own thing. But at any rate, they realized when they took them over, and it's been a year, maybe 2 years by now, and I'd been trying myself. It's like, we don't have any scale classes in this. It's 2.2 shafty, 2.2 MOA. We have the 1.9 class, which is like mini 1.9s, little guys, not what you can actually buy in the market.
Right. Well, you can't buy this. You can't buy any of those anymore, or can you? Can you still buy like a Slick Rock?
I don't know if they make the Slick Rock. That's a good question. If they still do,
that is a good question. I
think they probably do.
They do.
Yeah.
Seems like they
you
changed it.
Still have to modify it. You'd be only yanking the axles from it, maybe the transmission, and then throwing it on a completely new chassis, which is, that was the reason that I wanted a scale rule set, is that we need something that we can buy and run. And all of the rigs that come out today essentially adhere to the original 2.2 specs, but they got 1.9s thrown on. Almost all of them. If you measure the bodies and the wheelbase and the track width, they adhere to the original 2.2 shafty class.
Yeah.
But this is the old big body, where essentially the bumper was as far out as the tires were.
Right.
As we progressed, we made the rig smaller and smaller and more capable, and it's kind of the way that things go.
Right.
But so essentially, long story short, they created this performance scale class that is a 1.9 class. It's got relatively loose rules. You can take a class 2 and you can compete in this class with it, but there's no winching. There's no scale points. There's none of that. It's essentially, you have a rig that needs to be this size, That's it.
Right. And I think a lot of that would be a lot of fun. One thing I will commend the scale rules committee on, though, is that they do seem to try and really keep the spirit of the scale rule side in check.
Oh, they've done a great.
Which is, it's hard to do.
That's true, and it is hard to do because the way that people interpret the rules is constantly evolving, right? And there's little minor things that they're doing that are making these trucks less and less scale every single year.
But the best thing about it is that scale people in the end, even the people who are scale competitors, are still in the end like, okay, they got too much. I'm still just going to build a scale truck and go play over there. Like, it's a self balancing. It's always trying to teeter toward there because there's always going to be the people who want to win. So those people are always going to roll to one side. But there's enough people heavy on the other side of that bell curve that keeps things, like, you can be the cool guy who wins the scale toy truck competition if you really want to, with your little carbon fiber, no paint on the body, clear chassis thing, Ben.
Carbon wheels.
Clear wheel faces. And
oh, yeah. Boy, I remember that controversy.
Ben is always good at pushing that stuff. But at the same, like, it's kind of self-policing enough, because in the end, is that really what you want to do? You want to,
right?
And if so, great. But
we just like getting together and playing with toys when it boils down to it.
So,
I think that's the part. Yeah, that's the part we have to remember, is that this should still be fun, even in a competition. Even in a competition state, it should still be fun.
Yeah. Don't be a dick, and let's have fun.
Don't get mad and throw your truck in the woods.
Right. Yeah. Don't kick your ramp, and don't
use a winch stick. And anyway, Mad Dragon had a question about a revolver that he had smoke on him the last time on the trail. Can he send it in for repair?
Well, it might not have much salvageable. The first thing that I would do is have a little talk with the revolver about the dangers of smoking. It's really not a cool thing to do, and it'll hurt it in the long run.
I wonder. Yeah, popcorn lung is a real thing.
Were you just trying to fit in? People like you for you.
Side story: across from Holmes Hobbies in the gravel lot, there's a lawyer that has a lot of money. And we always say he's got popcorn money, because he was the guy that headed the lawsuit against Top Secret for the popcorn lung, the butter lung.
What?
Oh, butter lung.
That was him. There was a class action lawsuit about that butter that they used. They got the popcorn lung, and so he's the guy. He's an interesting fellow.
I do not remember such a lawsuit.
Yeah,
there was something in the oil-based like butter thing in the bag.
Yep.
That created some sort of vapor, right? Or like
it's just like vaping, essentially. Some of the flavors that they use in vaping, it gets into your lungs and it essentially just blocks your airways. It doesn't get out of your lungs. It's an oil and it just sits there and it coats your lungs. So if you're having daily inhalations of this hot oil, you end up having reduced lung function, and it can get some pretty nasty after effects of that. Just like using a vape pen too much. It's a really similar thing.
Do I remember like Pop Secret as a kid? They came out with like different flavors or colors. Was it colors?
Yeah.
Purple and blue and stuff.
Man, I'm
sure that was really good for you too.
I'm glad I can remember that, but not my anniversary.
So back to the revolver. You can definitely send it in. We can check it out. But if it is smoked, more than likely the most valuable part, which is the stator, is no longer usable, and we won't be able to help you out with repair on that.
Yeah. But you do take a lot of repairs in, and they're always really good on their communication. I've sent stuff in before when I've broken things, and they are really, really diligent about taking a good look at it, telling you what they can do and fix, and getting it back to you. So definitely.
We try our best on that. We're running a little slow right now, and especially with the revolvers not having anything to replace ones that have had problems, we're definitely running slow on that. Not happy about it, but unfortunately that is just how we have to operate for the time being. Yep. But we have a really cool database that my website guy Jonathan built for us, and the database keeps track of all of that stuff for us. So when we check it in, and we have emails that go through the system, that we can actually see what's going on, see what's been said, and then put the problem in there. So that if anybody else has to come in and work on it, all that information is in one spot, and that has really helped us up our game on the repair and warranty side. Is having that database just built out and all the information in one spot. Really, really helpful. So I know Jonathan is not watching because he lives in the middle of the ocean on a boat right now. But thanks to him for being a rad dude that runs our websites and runs all our databases. We have about 4 databases keeping the business running right now. Yeah, he decided to move up, just sell everything from Missouri and move to a boat somewhere in the Caribbean, sometimes in the Atlantic. They just crossed over Florida. There's some strait that goes through Florida, some canal that goes through the middle of Florida. They just got into the Gulf of Mexico because I guess there's a big storm coming or something like that. I don't know.
Yes, I've heard that. I think that's like through Lake Okeechobee area or something like that. But
yes, that sounds right. That sounds right.
So there's a good question that came in here, and it at the same time, it can get into a little bit of a wormhole, so I'm going to rephrase the question for them. But give me 2 setups that you would choose. 1 brushed, 1 brushless for like a 1.9 trail truck, SCX 10, 2, 3, VS 410, and then 2 1 brush, 1 brushless for a 2.2 truck, a Wraith or a Bomber. A Wendigo behind, like. Give me two setups for each.
All right. So this is going to be my personal choice. 1.9 brushed. If a 550 motor fits in there, I'm going to choose a 550 motor at this point. I just really like the way that they drive. That extra torque in the brushed is nice. The runtime usually goes down by a little bit, but I love having that extra punch. The drag brake is better. The descent is better using a 550. So my personal choice is going to be a Crawlmaster Pro, probably a 10 turn or an 8 turn because we can custom wind motors for myself whenever I want to. But probably a 10 turn or a 12 turn if I don't want quite so much wheel speed, if I want a little bit more scale speed. So Crawlmaster Pro 10 or 12 turn 550 if it'll fit, and then a BRXL speed controller. Then for a brushless setup, that's really tough. I bounce between all my brushless right now. I really like the way that the Puller Pros work, just the 4-pole. I tend to also use the standard, which is a 540 can, but it's got the 550 stator packed inside, because I love the way that it drives that extra drag brake, the extra torque. It doesn't start as smooth as our stubbies, though. So if I'm looking for something that's more like general trail driving, then I'm going to go with a stubby size. And if I want that extra oomph, then I go with the standard 540. So like a heavier vehicle, the standard 540 is a better pick. But if it's a lightweight rig, then the stubby does just fine. I almost always choose the standard, though. That's just my preference. And 2700 kV is kind of like a you can't do wrong sort of kV. A little fast for some people. That is not a scale speed. I like more wheel speed.
Right.
Just like my choice for the Crawlmaster, saying I want a 10 turns, maybe 8 turns, because I love that wheel speed. It gets me in trouble all the time. If I was doing this for games points, I would definitely not have the same recommendation. But I like the 2700 kV speed. A lot of times I'll throw the 3500 in there, and I'll get myself in real big trouble with brake parts.
So I love the 2700 on 4S.
Yeah. See, and that's like the 3500 on 3S, which is what I like.
Right. That's what I think I have in one of mine right now, too, actually. Great motor.
Yeah, I mean, really fun. But honestly, the 2700 is plenty of wheel speed. 2200 is actually plenty of wheel speed. Even 1800, honestly, is plenty of wheel speed for the average Joe. But it's fun to be able to pop over routes and, do wheelies and stuff like that. So, I'll keep running in circles on this one if I don't stop myself. So, standard Puller Pro 2700, probably with a Mamba X right now. Mamba X is a really good setup. I dig the auxiliary wire on there.
Same.
The control of it's really good. The RS is or RX
RX4.
RX4.
4 now is the newest model. That one's also really good. I'm not good at tuning them though, which is my downfall. So I tend to default kind of to the Mamba X.
You just have to ask Ty.
Right.
Ty will give you the perfect setup.
So that was the 1.9. 2.2 rig, it's the exact same recommendation.
Yeah.
What I'm going to run is going to be Crawlmaster Pro, either 12 turn or 10 turn in a 550 if it fits. If it doesn't fit in a brushed, and if it's a Wraith, don't do it with a 2.2. Just don't. If you're going to put 2.2s on a Capra, don't throw a brush motor in there. You're going to smoke it probably, unless it's really slow. And in that case, why are you throwing 2.2s on it?
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much the exact same recommendations for a 2.2 or 1.9. That's maybe why I like those selections and why I tend to favor the 550s and the standard Puller Pros, is that it doesn't even matter what the rig is. I can yank it and put it in and it's going to perform great. So I kind of like that overpowered sort of side of things.
Yeah.
Probably why I do what I do.
Right.
I make motors so that, like the Magna motors that I've been working on, those are so overpowered. Just for a brush motor, it's just a good feel of a drive, though, and that's what I like. So, not throwing that out there as a recommendation because we don't have any cans to assemble right now. We got a whole bunch of armatures we've been making, but I definitely don't recommend those for either one right now. But in a month, I'll change my mind. And, that'll definitely be what I recommend.
Yeah.
I've got an interesting question here, really quick. Darwin had a question, and I think this actually did come up as a real thing that's happened to you, John. Have you ever found your motors being faked in the online market or like a knockoff? And if there are, which I think there are, how do you know from a customer's point of view whether you've got a fake one or a real one? I mean, obviously, if you buy them from you, they're going to be real.
I would hope so. Yeah, so the ones that are being knocked off right now that I'm aware of are the Trailmaster Sport 21 turn 550s. And they are knocking them off all the way down to including stickers in there with them. They're including my stickers in there, and what looks to be a pretty good job of a reproduction on stickers. The shades of green are a little bit different. It's a little bit more reflective than our stickers. It does not come with a face bearing yet. Since we've been pushing that as a way to tell whether they're fake or not, I'm assuming that pretty soon they'll be coming with face bearings as well.
Right.
We actually had a really big rush of warranty issues with this particular model, and it turns out that they were all fakes that were smoking, which told me that, hey, my motors are actually good because these knockoffs are smoking immediately when people go out on their first run, and then we would give them a replacement and they don't smoke. So, there is quality differences between my $20 motor and what you can buy that's other sealed cans out there, or even the knockoffs, because a knockoff is almost always going to try to save as many pennies as they can and then squeeze as much out of the sale as they can. And a lot of times they're even selling these guys for a higher price than what we sell them for.
Yeah, they're just opportunists on that end. Just
right.
Taking advantage.
So how do you tell if it's a fake? You won't notice a torque boost. Like, let's say if you're using a Traxxas 21 turn 550, you will not notice a torque boost with a fake motor when you go to ours if it's fake. If it's our legitimate motor, you'll notice about a 20% torque boost, and it's almost all drivers actually do notice this. Not everybody though, so that this may be not a good indicator. The lack of a face bearing, having a bushing on the face of this particular model, is a dead giveaway. The package coming with wires inside, we don't offer wires to distributors and wholesalers. You can only get wires installed direct from us at Holmes Hobbies. So anything that has wires included in the photo is a fake. They are also called Sodial brand, Sodial, and then one other that's popped up on Amazon. They're listed as Sodial Holmes Hobbies, and then they have the Holmes Hobbies name, part number, and everything like that. So that's another thing to look out for on Amazon and eBay, Wish, Alibaba.
right.
I think those are all the platforms where these fake sellers are going out of, and they're all pretty much being shipped out of China. Although now we found people shipping them out of Canada as well, and I don't know if they just bought a bunch of fakes and they refuse to acknowledge it, or if there's actually vendors who are intentionally importing fakes and selling them as counterfeits. So
Can't
that's
trust
the one
Canadians.
model that I'm aware. Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
Sorry.
if it's an eBay vendor, make sure it's an eBay vendor that isn't just selling out of China, for sure, because I'm not aware of any of them that are legitimate. For Amazon, if it says Sodial, if it has wires in the picture, because they're all using the exact same photos, of course. It's taking some photos from our website and then taking some other photos directly in their studio, which is kind of weird to say the truth. Why would you steal photos and take your own photos? I don't
right.
know. Yeah, yeah, kind of
Well, they
unfortunate.
took their
Yeah,
photos first, and they're like,
right.
"Oh man, these suck. These are terrible photos. We gotta
We we
steal
uh,
those other ones."
we try to do a good job on our photos. That's Justin and Jonathan both being really good photographers, and knowing how to set up a camera. And instead of what I used to do is I would get right up on it, and take the photo real big, max out the photo really good, but you get this weird parallax distortion to the photo. And I was always wondering, it's like, oh, this looks weird. I don't know what. And
Motors
yeah,
are
yeah,
bowing.
it would have a bow to it, and it would like it would
That's
almost like
well, yeah.
freeze
It's got
rise
more
in your
bottom
hand.
end. It's
Right.
Yes,
Hey, you want the
how do you
bottom
think
end,
how do you think we get that torque?
we have more
top
bottom
end,
than
and
it.
bottom.
Yeah. So the solution to that was to get a zoom lens and actually back up really far and then zoom in into our light box, and then of course do all the color correction and the white balance and stuff that I know nothing about. That is not my forte. I know the terms, but yes, I suppose they did want to steal our photos. They are nice photos. I'll give them that. So, long story short, how to tell a fake. It's probably going to be coming out of China on Amazon, Wish, eBay, stuff like that. Sodial brand, and when you get it, it probably won't have a ball bearing. And I've been saying that so many times. I just know they're going to start shipping them with ball bearings soon.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
Now
figure
you
out
need to
something.
come up with something else though. Like it doesn't come with a fake mustache in the box.
Yes, exactly. Well, originally I was saying, well, they can't be fake. They're coming with our stickers. The two extra stickers. We
Right.
always put two
Always put two
stickers
stickers.
in the package, and they knew that that was such a brand thing that they include two fake stickers in the package. Like, thanks for advertising for me, I guess.
Right.
I mean, have them stickers on your body, guys.
Yeah. As long as it's not coming out of the smoke show, it's okay. But God.
Right. Yeah. What do you do though? Try to keep people informed, I suppose, is the best
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
We
Come on shows like this
yeah.
and tell everyone.
That's a fight I am all too familiar with.
Oh yes, of
You know,
course.
but
They make some really great wheels
yeah, it's
out there.
a constant deal. But is what it is.
Yeah,
You can only do what you
is.
can do, and there's enough customers who know what they want that's still what they're after. So it's one of those things like sometimes you just, if it's a customer who is fine with buying a fake, then they're a customer who's always going to want to buy the fake. It's your chance of converting them is it. So it's like
Especially with a price point difference.
right.
If it's a very obvious knockoff and they're selling it for 60% of the price or whatever the price point is, that's a price sensitive customer that is a lot different than somebody who's going to get the real thing and appreciate the machining difference and the quality materials difference, quality threaded holes, having champers on the edge of all the threaded holes.
Right.
It's a big deal. I mean, and I only know that as a machinist and having made things and trying to skip that part and then trying to thread a screw in, like, the little things really do add up. But you're right that converting those customers probably isn't going to happen. I guess I'm lucky that our knockoffs are higher priced right now. It'll be an easy conversion now,
Yeah,
boy.
exactly.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, these Holmes motors are so expensive. I'm going to buy the Holmes motors.
Yeah. Good time. What a world. These first world problems that we have, right?
Yeah, it's trying to get rich in the RC business is not necessarily, that's.
It may not be working for you, Josh, but it's working very well for me.
Oh yes, exactly.
The best advice that I ever had, the owner of Castle Creations, Patrick Del Castillo, he told me, "Oh, you want to make $1 million in the RC industry? Well, then you only have to start with $1 billion."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exact.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
is now, Castle has recently gone through some restructuring. like on.
They may have. I'm not sure what is publicly available on that, but their supply chain issues that they had some cash crunch issues, and they seem to be coming out on the backside of that.
That's good. And
So
Okay,
see,
that's good.
Castle stuff's been. I mean, I run half of my stuff's, Castle speed controls, and half of it's a, Teak here. What but the supply issue has been the hardest thing with Castle for the last couple of years. So hopefully now the global supply chain issues aside, hopefully they're going to come back out of that, and we're going to see them with just a good supply. I mean, they used to be when their supply was strong. I mean, God, it seems like they had half the speed controls in the market. With how many they were OEMing to Axial, Traxxas, HPI, which were the brands at the time. I mean, there was no Arma. There was no they were
right.
Half the times you bought an RTR and it came with a Castle speed controller.
Yep. And of course, having that just solid performance behind it, known assembly is really the advantage of going with them. And Hobbywing upped their game and really has that low price. And of course, as we said, you can't compete as a U.S. firm with China-built prices. There just is no competing. You can get close on things like speed controllers because a lot of it is automated and pick and place. When you're going through, having the customer support overhead, having your testing line, because when it comes off the pick and place machine, you're either soldering wires on or you're doing board tests as you go down and operations tests. And just that section of the overhead makes it to where you can't compete on price. And Hobbywing has done a great job of just being like, hey guys, you want to make an extra $2 on this RTR? We got the speed controller for you. It'll pretty much operate the same. I mean, everybody replaces RTR stuff anyway, right? And so it's a pretty hard pitch to say no to when somebody comes in and like, hey, we could save you some money that goes into your pocket.
Especially in that RTR world.
Yeah, has that saved any companies in the long term? I don't think it really has.
Yeah.
But that's something that you either have to get with or you get left behind, unfortunately. And at this point, I don't think it's really possible to go into China and set up a manufacturing plant easily. Of course, you have to be a Chinese national or have a Chinese national own half of the company in China,
right?
Which means that if Castle or myself wanted to open up a Chinese branch China, that we would have to give up 50% of our ownership there, and that doesn't help either. They're making it intentionally difficult for people in other countries to have an even playing field with the pricing. So of course we would go to India or we would go to Taiwan or some other country, but of course the cost of operations are typically higher there. So six of one, half a dozen of the other, and I don't know what I would say to Castle if I was going to give them some sort of advice to get back into that RTR market. What could they do? I don't know. I don't know what I would do in their position.
I don't either.
I don't know what I would do. Right now, let's say that I had my speed controllers done. If somebody said, hey, I want you as an RTR supplier, I don't know what I would do to be competitive because I don't even want to move that manufacturing over to China, to say the truth.
Right.
You can't keep control of your IP at that point. That's
exactly.
Last thing that I want to do is spend a bunch of time engineering stuff and then have it all knocked off because I have an assembly plant in another country. And that's a reality that Castle would face, unfortunately. And I'm sure even Hobbywing faces it because employees churn all the time.
Right.
And in China, it's very, very common for employees to take files with them. And so I don't know how Hobbywing even deals with that personally. Maybe they have really, really good controls, or maybe they have the high engineers actually be an owner of the company, so they have no reason to want to leave.
Right. Yeah. There's, how actually holding on to some of that stuff is just, let alone the very small amount of protection for IP stuff over there. Granted, last year that there was some moves to really help some of that. That was like when was it Landwin lawsuit?
Mm-hmm.
It was a Range Rover, I believe, right? Against
That's
Landwin.
Right. Yep.
And they won a huge a huge thing against. Landwind is the company that was in China, which was making basically a knockoff Land Rover.
It was the Range Rover Evoque. Yeah, and it looked exactly the same.
And they actually in Chinese court,
reverse engineered it, didn't they?
In Chinese court, they won this. And after that, we actually have some dealers in China, and they buy a lot of our stuff. There's a lot of people in China really like U.S. made products. They see owning it like having a high quality. They want this higher quality piece, so they'll bring it in. They really like it, and to do that, like a lot of stuff changed to make sure that they were a legitimate retailer and that it was legitimate product coming to them, not a knockoff product, and whether in the long run that will actually curtail anything, like who knows. But there was definitely some steps taken to at least act like they cared,
right?
But who knows?
Putting on appearances, at least,
right? And I think it was a huge part of it was because there was actual Land Rovers or Range Rover, whoever it was, that's the same company, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They're all owned by Tata,
right.
I believe.
And it was trying to keep them and their manufacturing in the country. And so
yeah.
Another one of those situations, but before it trickles all the way down to us, likely not going to be much of an effect.
The next major case in China, Chinese law, Vanquish Products versus. Don't see it happening. Well, maybe it will. Who knows?
I'm going to be over there with this mustache. And ooh.
Wow. Oh, he's serious.
Like the text message I got while we were in here saying, out of the three of you, if I was going to guess one guy whose name was John Holmes,
it wouldn't be John. And it's definitely not me.
Yeah.
Matthew Small had a question. He's been slowly converting all of his crawler motors to Holmes Hobbies. What's the difference between Holmes and Tekin?
Let's see. So the Tekin brushed motors are Sagami based, just like the majority of ours are. We do have slightly different specs on them. I have them built to my specs. Tekin has them built to their specs. Tekin does use a really good rotor on there, so it's nice and smooth starting. It has good torque density. For the hand wound motors, I wind all of my, I don't personally wind them anymore, but I have taught a motor winder he just full-time winds motors for us. We wind all of our motors in-house, whereas Tekin has Sagami wind them in Japan. So that's the biggest difference between their hand wounds and my hand wounds. We have a lot more variety to them. We can custom wind in-house at the drop of a hat. We say that it's a 2-week lead time, but a lot of times we'll have it done within 24 hours. Depends on what part of the process we're at with some other armatures, but the winding, we can do it pretty much any point and shuffle it through. The advantage that I have doing it in-house, number one, we typically have higher wire fill, which gives you more torque for our pro motors. This is just the hand wound versions here. The expert that we have, which I think the HD for Tekin, I would say they're fairly comparable as far as the performance on those. But the hand wounds, we fit a higher wire fill in-house. I use a really high-grade resin for them. Our dynamic balancing machine is a lot more accurate than the one that Sagami has. And then on top of that, we use a brazing filler instead of just solder on the commutator. So soldered commutator is going to sling it apart, about 450 Fahrenheit or so. Depending on the amalgam that's used, it's going to start throwing solder off the motor, and the motor will stop working, essentially, which is a problem with like the Wraith and any 2.2 rigs or any rig with a 2-speed. That will happen when it gets overheated. And whereas ours, we use the brazing filler, which melts at 1150 Fahrenheit. So the motor ends up just completely going up in smoke by the time it's going to fail, which creating one failure mode for another on there. But in the long haul, my motors end up being more consistent and more reliable. They'll take overheating without failing until you get to the point that they're literally on fire. And then you have a lot more problems. The magnets end up getting damaged. The springs end up just turning into wet noodles. Um, and so that's the main difference between those particular models. Now we could get into my Polar models, which I engineered all the magnetics myself, all the housings and everything, or the Magnums, which is the same story, different rotors in there, 28 millimeter rotors. I engineer the magnetics, the housing. We do all the assembly on all of these hand wound models in house. So there's a lot more U.S. labor involved. So I've got one employee that is just full time doing hand wound motors, nothing else. That's all that he does. And we're actually having to get him some help. So my old motor winder, who he worked for me for a couple of years, really smart guy, Andrew, and end up having his own companies doing his own stuff. And but he works for himself, and so he doesn't work himself to the bone because he doesn't want to. And he still has a little bit of time here and there. He's also my cameraman, my editing man for YouTube, and he comes in and actually fills in for winding here and there whenever we need it. He's been doing the last couple of months here. He's actually been having to come in and give us a boost on winding. It's been going well, and people want motors for their builds. So our head winding is very quick paced right now.
Fantastic.
Maybe that was a very long explanation on the differences between Deacon Motors and myself as far as brush motors. But in a nutshell, we do a lot more in-house. I do a lot more engineering, whereas they rely on Sagami, who is a fantastic manufacturer. I can't speak highly enough about Sagami. They have been the most solid supplier that I have ever had, to tell you the truth. They're always on time. They're always on point. And I think out of I don't want to say how many motors, many tens of thousands, though, we maybe had like 20 from the factory that had problems. We catch them during assembly, but it's so rare from them. Whereas, a typical like China-based factory, out of 1,000 motors, you'll be lucky if there's not like 20 or 30 that have assembly problems.
Wow,
just
amazing.
Part of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's where we come in though. We check everything out and make sure that things are good. So.
Yeah, the differences between it's always it's a very nice way for you to actually go through and explain all of it, and it's both companies that are respected and have their both different ends of the market that they like to not even they occupy a very similar place in the market actually. So it's always an interesting way. I thought you did. I was just kind of. It was very nice how you explained the differences. We were very courteous about either way. There's a lot of otherwise you can get people just get super, the defensive, harsh way to go. And,
Well, there's a term.
Very diplomatic.
Yes.
There's a term that I like to use for that kind of talk, and it's called the other guys talk. Where everything is always in relation to the other guys and what we don't do because the other guys do, or what we do that the other guys don't do, and that's it's just no way to be for me at least. There's plenty of room for everybody. If we're nice to each other, we can definitely all get along. There's Tekin's a great
competition is good. You want to have competition, especially in a small market like this, because it breeds innovation and competition, right?
Yes, absolutely does. And and Tekin does a good job. They know what they want. They know what they can get from their suppliers or what they need to design themselves, and they do it. And that's what somebody needs to do in the market. And of course, Tekin, just a great family that owns it, the Campbells, and also if somebody wants to buy a Tekin motor, I'm never going to be like, oh, that's a bad choice. It's not a bad choice. So they're good folks over there. We just do things a little differently. And I will tell you, it takes a lot of grit to learn how to make motors. I've had a couple of friends come through and try to help me on the motor manufacturing side before, some crawler guys, and they didn't realize like how many steps there are to just processing an armature. It's just only one part of the motor, but just the armature processing is extremely difficult and long. And only when you're doing batches of 50 or 100 at a time does it get efficient. If you try to do one armature through all the different steps,
right?
Which let's see, winding, commutator clean, commutator again, commutator again, resin impregnation, baking, dynamic balancing, calm cut. We're at 8 steps. 8 steps. I had to count on my fingers. I had to close my eyes and count on my fingers. We're at 8 steps just for getting the armature from a raw armature state to be able to assemble it into the motor. I think that was all the steps. Yeah.
Right. Now, John,
good times.
John and I have traveled to many states together in many long road trips. And these very in-depth and technical conversations are usually what will help to put any of the passengers that may also be with us just to an absolute like
yeah.
We'll sit there like I mean almost everything I've known in technical depth about motors has come from a cross-country road trip with Holmes and I going somewhere. So and I don't know if Nicole has been on a road trip with both of us or not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But I know we drove to Moab together like 16 hours straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long trip in a minute.
Yeah, that was when you were selling Scale hardware.
Nope, that was before that.
Some hardware.
That was before that. But I had just got an order in of McMaster hardware, and you needed like half of my M3x8s.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sure we can come up with a trade.
Josh, yes. I still have a lot of your hardware.
Wow. I
still have bags of these things.
Oh my god. That was all Nicole's gig.
She packaged all of these?
I didn't do any of that.
You took all the money?
She counted and bagged every one of those screws. We were getting like 80-pound boxes of hardware in at a time. And just of each size, just these massive boxes of M3 and it was one bag of hardware inside of there. And she would just scoop, and I remember we were selling it in those little baggies, and I had got some very accurate fine scales, and then I remember the rest of my Amazon suggested items were completely off base. Like, I was just like
a water pipe.
Yeah, I was just like, oh man, I'm like, there's going to be whatever FBI agent's going to be peeking in my windows is going to be
ATF's going to show up.
Completely disappointed because.
You're just bagging tiny screws.
He's still working on an RC car. Is he?
Call it off. He's a nerd.
Yeah, never mind, everybody.
Somebody was suggesting that I was bored listening to all of this. I'm not. This is awesome information, and it's really great to hear it from the source. So thank you again, John, for being on the show, because it is very cool to get some really in-depth firsthand knowledge on something that is actually quite interesting to me. So
thanks for having me. It's been a good time.
Take that, Chris.
I do have one other story to see if you remember, John. And
probably
this was actually it was brought on by one of the comments that said, "Don't worry, Josh. I don't think Tekin will drop you," which I don't like. I run Tekin and I run Holmes and I run some Castle stuff. Like I run all kinds of stuff.
You're all
I've
over
just
the map.
been friends with you, John, for however many years now. But do you remember, like back when I was, as YouTube stuff, I try not to do too much like the team driver stuff, so I can use whatever. But back when it was a thing, do you remember when you asked me to be a team driver?
It's been a long time ago.
We were in a hotel room in, where was that? Gadsden? Oops.
Oh, yeah.
The
Alabama.
Yes. I had frozen. Oh, and that's going to be. Sorry, my camera had deactivated. But we were down there for, I think, ECC one year. And we were sharing a hotel room, but with like 3 other people as well. I think we were actually...
Yeah.
We happened to be, I think, in the same bed. And you're like, oh, do you want to be a team driver? And it's like, it's weird that you're asking us while we're both laying in this bed. I think we were sharing the room with Lars and Super Dave.
Yes. And they snored so loud. Oh man. Did they snore?
Yeah, that was. I remember we all wanted to go grab something to eat down at like that Texas Roadhouse or whatever was down the street, and half of us had ridden there with someone else. We flew into Atlanta and then we drive up. So like a third of us had vehicles, but one guy had a truck, and he's like, "Let's just jump in." Everyone, like 9 of us in
Get in the back.
back of a truck, just get in the. But the cops there were very picky, so you had to like make sure, and then you had like a 1 mile strip until you had to get back to the hotel. So you just get on the highway and go. It made it even more safe, fast as you could.
Oh my God.
Good old Gadsden, Alabama.
So did you say yes? Or did you take the team driver invitation or not?
I did what it took. Okay.
I think
Wait, were you asking John or was John asking you? I'm confused.
Like, yeah, I'll join the team,
sure.
but I'm gonna run some other stuff too. It's like, yeah, whatever, man.
Okay,
fine.
cool. That's usually how it goes.
As long as we're having fun.
Right.
Yeah. Teams are always open to you running other stuff. That's what I've found. It's usually
Yeah.
good rule of thumb.
There's a few teams that play hardball, and
Yeah.
have unfortunately pushed a couple of people off of my team because they're like, nope, sorry, you can't be running Holmes Motors. Well,
Right.
it is what it is.
God. Yeah.
RC Dave charged up, asked if if you guys will ever do bigger motors, like an 8th or 5th Holmes Hobbies motor.
Well, we already have 8th scale motors on the site.
True story.
I guess Dave hadn't looked hard enough.
Yeah, in the Puller Pro section.
Yes.
It's our 8th scale. 5th scale motors, it's hard for me to sit down and engineer a motor when I know I'm only going to sell like 5 of them. Honestly.
Right.
5th scale is
XL.
also, like I said earlier, I don't play with 5th scale, so I'm probably not going to make something for 5th scale. I don't play with it. That's just how I operate. I want to be able to use it in my rigs and have fun with it and say, yes, that's a great motor. Now other people can try it too. I don't even have a 5th scale rig, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had seen you had some 5th scale stuff at one point, didn't you?
Nope, never got into that big.
No.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember.
Just myself.
I feel like I'd seen 5th scale motors there before, just with the size compared to everything else. But
those are actually e-bike motors.
oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, I could definitely put those in a 5th scale, but I mean, who wants to spend $800 on an electric motor for a 5th scale? You could literally just ride it yourself.
Right. Shane Clips was asking if there's a way for customers to contact you or get info by emailing somewhere and getting your questions answered directly from you, John. Also suggested that you should do a weekly video.
I should. And I do a weekly video on YouTube, but it's a random. It's not a live feed. As far as direct questions, I work my own YouTube account, Instagram and Facebook as well. So like the Facebook fan page is a real good spot to ask direct questions. But my customer service team is actually really sharp and on point, and a lot of the stuff I have taught them, or they've experienced themselves in crawlers. So if you're looking for a recommendation for a rig, you can just email us direct through the site, and it may not be me, it may be Jeff, it may be Justin. And if they don't know, then they're going to be asking me. So whether or not it's coming directly from my mouth, it's still going to be solid information.
Great.
So any of those routes, there's lots of routes. I don't do direct messaging through Facebook or anything like that, just because.
No, you sure don't.
It's one too many avenues, and direct messages are never searchable.
Right.
So if I'm looking for information, or if I want to go back and find somebody, I don't know where to look, and I'm not able to find it. And so as a customer service standpoint, it's a huge failing point. And I just don't even want to get into it because of, people just drop off the face of the messenger so fast. And especially with so many messages coming through, that it's a really terrible point of contact for me.
Yeah,
so
that is always that's the biggest issue. It's like the personal Facebook, business Facebook. Well, and then I'll have like my Harley Designs or Vanquish or Instagram, through, then email, website, YouTube, comment. Like, it's just so hard to keep.
Hashtag humble brag.
It's just hard to keep. Yeah, right. They're also
No, it is. I'm totally joking. It is really impossible to keep up, and I go through the same thing that you do. You guys do for sure.
Sometimes
a lot of messages.
Or like you'll just get the message that just says, "Hey," and it's like,
"Hello."
Those are the only ones I just don't respond to.
I usually just send the waving emoji back on those ones.
Yeah. My favorite question. Can I ask you a question?
I'm just like,
one. You get one question.
That's the limit.
You took
Try again tomorrow.
Back to you guys sleeping in the same bed. Paul Snyder wanted to know who was the big spoon.
I mean, I think I'm technically the big spoon, right?
I'm only about 155 pounds right now. I lost a good bit of weight, so I think Harley would. I think Josh would have me beat there.
Yeah. Now, did you lose weight because of this whole thing, or was that just like a purposeful? You wanted to get fit.
There was a few things that happened, and one of them was breaking my leg. And I lost. Let's see, I got down to a little bit under 140 after that.
Oh.
A lot of muscle mass. I didn't realize that I had like 20 pounds in one leg hiding somewhere, but lost a lot of muscle mass and everywhere in the body. And then I just tried to not eat too much while I was being sedentary, so I didn't gain it back too fast. I've gained back most of the muscle at this point, working out, trying to be healthy because I got kids and I'd rather be around for my kids and also be active with the kids. That's the big thing for me is they're 7 and 4, so they've got so much energy and they just want to play. And they're it's like a jungle gym on my body, and so that was kind of my big motivation is to stay in shape and cut the weight off, or at least keep the weight off, or put it back in a muscular way instead of just having it on my belly like it was before.
Right.
Yeah, and it's working. I was able to carry both of my children to bed last night, and my knee didn't fold underneath me, so it was a good win.
Yeah,
I think combined they're over 100 pounds combined, so getting back up there in strength.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's when did you break your leg? It was mid last year?
It was early last year. It was January the 5th of last year.
Yeah,
and I'm about to 50% strength now, but I've almost got pretty much 100% flexibility back. I had 2 weeks ago, I had a deep tissue massage, and I was doing something. I was cleaning the floor, and my knee popped, but it was in a good way, and I gained a couple inches more of leg movement. That was awesome. Usually, the pops don't feel good like that.
Yikes!
Yeah, that's. I've ignored most of the when will this be or when will that be questions, just because the when will this be and stuff.
2 weeks.
Like 2 weeks.
2 weeks, whatever it is.
2 weeks. It's always 2 weeks.
There is one that's a little outside the norm, and just it's an interesting one. Any interest? This is a little different rephrased than the question, but the 24 scale market. Is there any room for well-designed tiny motors?
It'll break your truck. However, I've got a couple samples right now of some low-cost sealed cans with high-grade magnets and laminations in them. So I'm working on that.
Oh, that's interesting.
However, it's gonna break your truck.
Yes.
And
that's how you know it's good.
I've also got brushless for the little 12 scale CR12s or whatever they are. The associated ones, those little plastic gears do not survive, and so I haven't released it yet, even though it's a perfect bolt up for it. Hey, I really hate having an aftermarket motor for a rig that just doesn't take it, and then there's no aftermarket support for it. Like if you're riding in all bushings in the transmission, to me that's a red flag. That's like, it probably doesn't need upgrades as much as I want to. I mean, I could be that guy that drives the aftermarket, I guess, for gears in a CR12.
You're right. That's the the SCX24 market actually seems to be pretty decent. As far as what's coming out.
A couple hundred out there or something.
Right. Yeah, something like that.
I've got some sample motors. We'll see if they bolt up. Just got them in a couple of days ago, so I haven't gotten a chance. I was testing some other motors first, some other sealed cans that I haven't even spoke
the
about
other
yet.
ones you can't talk about.
Right.
Yes.
I know. See, that's the problem is that if I talk about it, of course, people will know that we're working on things. But if I talk about it, then people will say, "Well, there must be something new coming." So
I'm not going to spend any money.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm not going to buy anything because, of course, there's something coming that's better. There's always something coming that's better.
Right.
It's just a
John,
better idea if we don't talk about it.
Nobody watches this show
Yeah,
anyway,
so fine.
you could say whatever you wanted, and literally no information will leak.
Nobody knows. It's just between us.
It's really just the three of us on this show watching it. All these comments are made up. These are all questions I had, actually.
Right.
Oh, the Russian bots. You hired some Russian bots.
Exactly. But we were too cheap to buy a lot of them, even. So.
Yeah, there's three Russians.
If we were gonna do that, we'd at least get like 1,000 people.
How many are there? I haven't looked.
We got 340.
I don't know.
340 on this side right now, doing pretty good.
My side must have frozen because it only says 52, which is impossible.
That is impossible. I agree.
Yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah,
I'm usually less popular than Josh. I don't know why. I'm infinitely more entertaining.
You're not wrong. And speaking of infinitely more entertaining, John, can we please rope you into discussions of a RC-based movie?
Oh, yes.
You can try. I mean, I haven't watched it, but let's go.
I tried.
Well, you know about it.
I've heard.
Okay.
Oh, I've heard.
So what if we told you that somebody in a movie who was interested in RC was also just a massive pile of crap? Like, why did that person have to be the person in this movie, though?
You know what? Yeah, I think it needs to be mentioned that this movie actually had a fair bit to do with RC cars.
It did. So
more than I was expecting. I was expecting the RC part to be very loosely sort of the reason for this movie existing, but it actually there was a lot to do with RC.
Yeah, agreed. And
not faithfully accurate.
But not necessarily entirely, like not enough information to even be inaccurate. But let's wrap this into actually. We're discussing again Flying Cars, the movie, available for download on iTunes if you have $10 that you don't necessarily feel that you need to hold on to in any sort of value.
No.
If you do need to hold on to it with some value, I would suggest buying Bitcoin.
Especially now, right?
Now's the best time to buy Bitcoin.
But okay, I made Nicole watch it with me.
I also made my wife Rebecca watch it too. We watched it and paused and talked about it while we were watching.
Those people.
Yeah, well, if something.
Oh my god.
So, not all the time will I pause a movie, but sometimes.
Let's talk about our feelings in the middle of this movie. Let's.
No. Not our feelings, but about the movie.
Did you connect with this gentleman?
Awful.
Just for one, quirky dresser.
Yes.
Film editor.
Yes. RC but
enthusiast.
Here's the difference though. I wouldn't wear my suit to the track.
I would do that.
At that point, I was like, nope, I'm out.
I just
this guy. He was.
And
if you haven't seen the movie, and I don't want to do a lot of spoilers.
I do.
Spoil it. Just spoil it. It doesn't sound like.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't want to hold any of it. You can tune out from mine now if you don't want spoilers on Flying Cars, the RC movie.
Now, just to be fair, the producer and the director were very nice and let us screen the trailer, and that was really great of them.
Agreed. But other than the fact that Matt and I both got copyright claims against us because of it.
Which was an odd odd thing to happen for
agree.
sure. Because it's for the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the guy in this movie is such a horrible, horrible human being.
A habitual horrible person.
Yeah. It's not like he just did one thing.
Like she says in the movie how much, like, I can't always be trying to get you jobs. And hello, wife?
Hi. I heard you talking about it.
Oh,
and
all right.
I just want to tell Matt, what did you get us into? And I'll never get that 2 hours of my life back.
So,
and that was the biggest piece of crap movie I've ever seen in my life. Hi, John. Miss you guys.
So, yeah, it was. Oh, I would like to note that I think that my stereotype of Ford Rangers was upheld.
Yes, absolutely. We did talk about that briefly. Okay, so
there's not enough weed
my first
in the world to make that a good movie.
Some would disagree.
No.
Nicole really didn't like it, I guess. John, I think you're definitely going to need to watch it now. If you weren't,
I'll have to rope the wife into it.
Yes, you should.
Yes, absolutely. It all started for me when he decided, like, his truck is
his Ford
broken.
Ranger.
His Ford Ranger has a broken radiator, a cracked radiator, and it needs to be replaced. He goes to the mechanic. His fiance, who I don't know where she got $600, because when we were watching, she's a singer,
yes,
or performer, and her set was not so good that anybody would pay her $600.
First
it was bad. Yeah. So she gives him $600 to fix the car, and she's like, well, we're getting married, so it's our money now. So here's $600 to fix your piece of crap truck.
Mistake number 2. You don't get joint accounts.
Exactly. Keep your money separate. That's what I best thing ever.
Yeah, see, we're the same account. We're the same account.
Wow.
But
I feel bad for you.
Now our C YouTube money. That's
different.
Separate.
That's free money.
Separate account.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely separate.
Now she could see it if she could, but that's.
You're doing this all wrong. We'll talk later. So he goes to the mechanic and he takes the truck in, and the mechanic's like, yeah, it's gonna be.
Don't call.
It's gonna be $600. Don't call it the truck. Yeah. Call it the Ford Ranger. He takes his Ford Ranger in. The mechanic says, yeah, it's going to be $600. Or I could patch it for, what does he say, like $150. And he's like, okay, let me think about it. So he goes off and he says this is the problem with this movie is the writing, because none of it's believable. He's walking down the street vlogging, because he's a film editor or like an assistant to the producer at a film production company. And he's like, well, I'm just gonna randomly find a hobby shop here in downtown Los Angeles to fix my toy from when I was a 10, because he still has it. He's got he's holding on to his childhood for dear life. He's 26,
27,
and he goes. Was he 27? Yes. I thought he was 26. Okay. Somebody watched this movie more than once, I guess.
One time, but the age thing was important for later.
Oh yes, that's right. So he goes into this hobby shop, and it's like the worst run hobby shop in the whole world. It's run by the meanest a-hole ever. Anyway, I could basically tell you the whole movie and all the plot points that have giant holes in them, but I'm not going to do that.
I will. It should.
Anyway, he spends long story short, he spends the $600 that his fiance, and they're getting married in 2 weeks. Don't forget that. They're getting married in 2 weeks from this point.
Yes.
He uses that money to buy an RC8. which is
The
I know Associated put some money into this movie,
right.
for sure. But what a terrible choice! It's a good car, but don't start there. The guy tried to sell him on an SC10, and I was like, "That's a good
reasonable choice.
That's a good place to start."
And
yeah,
then
great choice.
You know, I get that the character was like, I want this one because it goes 60. Like,
it goes 60 miles an hour.
Without trying to get into all the rest, he goes to the track and there's a girl there.
Sure, that's a huge plot hole.
Plot hole.
Yeah, exactly. This is not real.
Meets,
and she's not even the trophy girl.
Right. She's wearing the same hat Matt was, though.
Yes, the same hat.
So she obviously...
It's unisex. It's a unisex hat.
That she was obviously knows what car and this and that. And somehow those two... I don't even remember how that they end up... Oh, yeah. What doesn't matter. They end up talking and she's going to tell him how to drive or fix or something. Anyway, and they ends up... there's a big jump contest. Big air film contest. And the biggest jumper gets the
it's like $1,000.
No, it's like an invite to a... I don't know. I don't even know.
I thought there was cash. There was cash. And
I must have been riveted. This must have been one of the points where me and Nicole were pausing and talking. But... but...
You forgot that he entered the race, though. He actually did enter in a race.
And I can sympathize with his driving skill on the track. So...
Yeah.
And then just the constant like lying to the wife about, or the future wife about, or not just lying, like
so many lies.
Hanging out with
so many lies wrapped in lies.
But the one part that Nicole like actually laughed at and was saying how she could relate to it was when they were in the motel room together, a shitty motel room with RC cars all over one of the beds.
No, they were on both beds.
Yes.
They were both trying to wrench on their rigs on the bed with no light.
And then the obvious happens, and they're like having to move RC car bodies out of the way. She's like, hey, I know that. Like, I got to move all these RC cars out of the way.
Things are about to get hot and heavy. I don't want to ruin my RC8 body.
In this terrible hotel we're in the middle of nowhere.
Everything that I thought was going to happen did happen, though, from the trailer. There were a lot of things in there that made me kind of go, what is this? How is this going to relate?
You disagreed with me from the immediate no audio trailer. I was on the fiance's side at the jump.
Yeah, and for some reason I wasn't. You're right. I thought for sure that Rachel, the track girl, was going to be the right move for this guy.
Nope.
Not at all.
No.
Nope. Totally the wrong move.
Nope.
Don't hide your hobby. Be upfront about it. Say, look, I need a hobby. I'm feeling like I need something else. I mean, don't phrase it like that, because that's the worst way to talk to your fiance.
Recommend some chickens.
Yeah.
What you need some chicken, son.
What you need is a good chicken coop.
My favorite part was when, she just looked right at him. She goes, "You're such a loser."
He was called a loser multiple times in that movie by multiple people.
Yes.
Because he was a loser.
Yes. And I make zero apologies for all of the spoilers.
No, no sympathy for that guy either.
You should still watch it.
You definitely should. It's on iTunes.
And I guess Google Play, and it's cheaper on Google Play. It's $5.99 there.
Darn it.
And I paid $9.99. And then Nicole and I...
Canadian dollars, I paid $14.99.
And then Nicole and I looked... We only own the most random movies on iTunes. All of our other movies are on like Amazon. But all of our other like, I'm not even gonna tell you what my collection of movies on iTunes is. But
you know what? I'd love to hear it.
It's
Some other time.
It sounds like we could come away from this with some sort of lesson, though. And to me, it sounds like manufacturers are really screwing up by putting that miles per hour rating on there on the box. This started with a bad decision about what he was buying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So either they need to take that off, or we need to start putting that on crawler boxes where it's like 6 miles an hour.
A deadbolt will do 6 on 3S.
Yep.
6.
That's stock. 6.
5.8, I think, actually.
I got 5.9 because I was going downhill.
5.8.
Oh, wait, shoot. Steve R. just had a very good point. Where was the angry guy in the jean jacket?
Oh.
He wasn't in the movie.
I think you're right. Hey, Gene Masters gave me $10 just so he doesn't have to watch it.
That's brilliant.
Yes, I appreciate that.
That's brilliant.
But yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, angry guy in the jean jacket, and I don't think
Angry guy in the jean jacket didn't make the final cut. That's unfortunate.
Oh,
maybe he was like the landlord.
I'm getting one more spoiler that I don't care. The Ranger breaks down.
Shocker.
It's worth $300 at the end.
Oh yeah, that's right. The guy offers them $300 for parts, so they have to take the bus home after their romantic interlude.
Yeah. Where
There's so many. Okay, so at the jump competition, which was at a race called Desert Thunder, which I think might actually be a real thing.
Pretty sure that a lot of the characters in that were all real. I don't know any racers, but I think that was all. There was.
I think the guy on the phone who was from Associated actually is from Associated.
When he was that was Ryan Lutz, I think, who I know that is a real person. Yes.
Yeah, that's a real person.
But yeah, I think a lot of the people like at the track and doing track you can't fake that. You have to be.
No, those people were real.
You can't fake that type of.
No, those people were real.
It was exactly like I thought it would be in the Scale News, and it was a terrible and realistic movie. Like.
But only in the sets and the racing and the people who were there. In story, nothing about this was realistic. He spent 90 minutes at lunch driving his RC8 in the dirt and just spinning the tires directly at his feet constantly.
If you were, he directly in front of him, full throttle, cloud of dust. He comes back super sweaty, but not dirty.
Right. Super sweaty. That dude was sweaty throughout the entire movie. It must have been very hot. He's like, why am I always in this suit? I'm at the track.
Next time I'm definitely not wearing my wool suit. Like
I saw Gord Tessman. Yeah, Jake, you're right. Gord Tessman was standing there at the track. That's Ty Tessman's dad.
Oh.
Josh. Why do I know so much about racing?
I don't know either.
It's so weird.
So
anyway, because I don't do it.
I'm sorry to vent towards you in this manner, John. I know that now you are.
Yeah, John doesn't deserve
he
this
does
treatment.
Not. I agree. And if we weren't such friends, I wouldn't have subjected him to this.
I didn't prep and watch the movie beforehand. I knew what I was getting myself into.
Which I don't understand why. I gave you like 7 hours notice.
You did. I had
tons of notice. Hours.
I could have watched with my family.
Right.
Come on, let's all gather around and watch this dude be.
You guys want to see what Daddy does at work all day?
Daddy pretends to go to work.
Yeah.
Oh, they've been coming to the shop with me recently. They actually know what work is.
That's.
Good.
It's like, who's up there? Who's up there, Daddy? I don't know. It's not my job to care about who's at the shop right now. It's not my. I actually said one time, that's not my business. Who's working? I was like, wait, I guess it is kind of my business.
Who's there? I don't know. I don't even know if anyone's there.
I'm frozen with the most opportune face right now on my feed. Yes, that's well, I'm glad I got that off my chest. Now I can talk about it more on Friday as well during the live build.
Oh, man. I'll definitely the Matt signal will be going off for sure on Friday. I'll be checking in.
Yeah, that's again.
They're being pretty hard on us in the comments about me listening to y'all talk about this movie.
Yeah. Good Lord, Mr. Holmes, it looks like he's falling asleep.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, but we're over it.
Yeah,
now.
we're
done.
it.
Got it all out.
Bedtime.
We're past that.
It's like hours past my bedtime. Usually the chickens go down and I go down with them.
Oh, all right.
I just been sleeping in the coop lately. I mean, it's easier to just wake up and let them ride out.
Right.
Well, don't feel like you have to stay. Honestly, I don't really want to be here most of the time. So
Josh has to be here. It's his channel.
Right, exactly. It's
yeah.
Oh,
luckily, I am also running this. So
that was. We're gonna let that one slide. I'm just waiting for the sequel to come out with his brother or the neighborhood kid who gets into crawlers after getting a broken RC car given to him.
Oh yeah, here's a cruddy RC8 painted with one color.
Hey.
Don't talk about one color paint.
Yeah, like
there's not a oh wait, there's only one. There's a couple of one colors here.
I guess I painted this one multicolor.
One on the inside, one on the outside.
Yeah, two on the inside.
Cool.
I've got both silver and rust on the inside, and black on the outside.
That's how you know things were getting scale, Matt. All right.
Yeah.
You did.
Crawler.
Well, I mean, it's silver on the inside, so I presume that was so when you scratch it on the outside, it looks like it's bare metal.
Yeah, and then a little bit of rust here and there on the corners, so that some parts look rusted.
Right. Exactly. We can go over the techniques. I think we've got some threads that we can show you, Matt.
Yes. Harley Designs, where one should always go for all their paint instruction.
Yeah. That's
Step 1, chip brush.
I do like that the first body that John grabs behind him was a Betty body. I mean,
no kidding,
that's how you know the collection is deep still.
Old school.
I've still got one unpainted Betty and one of the what was the other one that was a little more round?
CF100.
Yes. Still got one of those. A couple here and there. I've actually been collecting some old parts here lately. I got myself I found a stick.
Oh, a TCS stick chassis.
Yeah. I don't think anybody on the feed is even going to know what it is. We got this old Proline body.
Crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
Or wait, is that the crowd pleaser?
Super heavy.
I can't remember.
I'm looking at it like it's going to say the
exactly.
name somewhere.
Like that's not how that worked.
It's got the brand sticker right on the front.
Yeah, right up front.
The Pro. I just couldn't remember. I thought that was a crowd, but I don't remember.
Then we got the stick, old Clodbuster axles, and
wow.
Matt, have you ever seen one of these?
I have seen one of those before. Yeah.
Oh yeah, got just one shock on each side.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. That is all you
Does
need.
that? Look, that actually still has Energy lathe motors in it.
Yes,
wow.
yeah. The dude that I bought it from, I mean, it's got a Traxxas radio on here, lathe motors, got the adjustable pinion mounts.
With green
What
crystals.
Novak POC is that?
Super Rooster.
Rooster?
Super Rooster.
Yeah.
Not just the regular Rooster. Super Rooster.
Super Rooster. With a drag brake, right?
Ooh.
No,
No, we didn't have drag brake then. I don't remember. When did we get drag brake, John?
When people started using Mama 25.
Was that the first?
In brush mode. They came out with an update for brush mode, and then I think the BRXL was technically the first brushed controller. No, I'm sorry, the FXR.
Yes.
The FXR actually had drag brake.
That's right.
The BXR?
No,
was it?
the
Little one?
FXR. Then there was the BR1
BR1, that's right.
or B1R, whatever.
One of them actually.
Yeah, one of those. But yeah, that was. I remember when we first got Drag Brake. Like what?
Yeah.
That was big. I remember my first comp crawler, like full on comp crawler, was Mamba 25. Before then, it was just like, oh, you want a little bit of drag downhill? Like, better set that gear mesh tight. Like just you just jam that pinion in that spur gear a little harder. Things will slow down.
Yep.
They sounded terrible.
See what else I got. I got another one over here that I found. This is a big one. It's
Oh, an NN.
It's a-
No, that's not an
Hustler.
NN. That's a Super Hustler.
Super Hustler, but it's got the XTM axles on it. This thing weighs a bunch.
Oh wow. Those were super rare to see.
Yeah, I've even got some extra shafts for it because, you buy one of these and you got to get a bunch of extras because they're going to break.
Yeah, and then they're going to go out of business because they thought making a
Exactly. That's the worry with crawler companies, the small crawler companies. That there's been a lot of them come and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, so many of them, especially in that area, that when they got into a comp crawler specific thing when it was hot, and then there was just obviously nothing left basically now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's a couple companies. There's a couple companies still making comp crawlers.
yeah, mainly domestic though. On
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Deluxe Fab.
France.
Um,
Margot.
oh yeah, he's over
He's
in
making-
overseas somewhere. I'm frozen again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's let's see. I guess RC Bros isn't
Nope.
technically making stuff
I don't
anymore.
think so. Yeah, William's doing the side by side stuff.
Man, who else? I guess if we're not talking about like class 2
Right.
sort of scale stuff, because there's a good bit of people making that. But
I did see what not Aggressor. Who was the other shock guy who'd been
Draft Tech.
He's closing down.
Yep,
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I saw that. Yeah.
making that call. And if you need to make that call, kudos to him for knowing when to make it.
Yeah, his was a work-life balance. Like real job, side job, and life. Like
Some people have a hard time deciding, but it's key to your own sanity.
yeah, and the trade-off here that it's just like, is it really going to pay off? Is the time invested into it? Are you just working are you trading dollars for the joy or
Crawlers.
yeah,
Trading dollars for crawlers.
right, exactly. So yeah, that was a crazy
I-
one to see this week. Psycho
I
Cat.
feel like I kind of was, right place in the right time as far as the business being able to grow and be a real business and not just a night business for a long time. Just a lot of luck, right place at the right time. And of course, the products have to be good too. But I've seen a lot of people try and not actually get there. And it's, I guess it is what it is. There's a lot of companies that end up folding over a couple of years.
Right.
And try real hard, man. DraftTech's made a lot of good parts over the
A lot
years.
of years.
Yeah, a lot of and it's sad to see. It really is. But at the same time, if that's the right decision, then that's the right decision. It's better for the customer, better for the market. It's not like pulling teeth for him. Because the last thing you want to do is work a square 40 or 60 or 80 or whatever it is, and then come home and then work another 4 hours each day. That's not a fun life after a while.
No.
I'm real fortunate I was able to break off and stop having that day job at some point in time. I guess it was about 4 years in. It took me 4 years to build the business to the point to where I could actually pay some rent and pay myself and all that. It was a lot of building. It always is for a new company, unless you start with a large fortune and you're looking to make a small
Right.
fortune. I did not start with any fortune at all. I built up from essentially zero and just worked my way up.
Yeah, that's
Crazy.
obviously the first place I ever visited you in Columbia there was at the facility. Was that the facility you started in, which is the one you're in now?
Yeah, the first place that I moved out is the shop that we're in now. I've not moved the business.
You've expanded within that building.
Yeah,
considerably.
yeah. I started with about 400 square feet, and then we had a moped shop next door that was 600 square feet, which was our moped crew. I was the treasurer for them, and essentially we rented benches for like $50 a month to everybody in the crew. We all had a place to wrench, hang out, and party. Being industrially zoned, there was no noise ordinance, so we could rev our two-stroke engines all night long. We could have parties on that dock all night long. And a couple of times the cops would come out and they'd be like, so we had some noise complaints out here. And we'd be like, yeah. And that was it. There'd be nothing that they could say. Normally there's, it's like a 10 o'clock noise ordinance here or whatever. And they can shut you down. They can fine you. They can take you to jail or whatever. But being that we were in that industrially zoned part, they'd be like, yeah, well, we just wanted to let you know that there were some noise complaints.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, so took over another 600 square foot for Holmes Hobbies, took over another 600 square foot for Holmes Motion Control, which I have parted off not quite half of that space now. Holmes Motion Control is probably in like 400 or 350 square feet because I got rid of the big machine. Holmes Hobbies used a little bit of that area for more warehousing. And then the grow and throw business is that's the new storefront where that big roll-up door was for the machine, where I got the machine in and out of the building. That's the storefront.
Yeah, I saw that new addition of the door and the walk-in.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And then Grow and Throw took over another 600 square feet for warehousing, for potting soil, having indoor putting tournaments and stuff like that. And then I actually just took over the parking lot.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, putting tournaments.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, disc golf.
Uh-huh.
So putting,
Good time.
like putting, like in a golf. Like...
Yeah.
With a disc or with a club?
With a disc.
Neat.
Yeah, it's good times. It was one of those hobbies that all my friends have been into for a long, long time. And I kept saying, the last thing I need is another hobby right now. Right? Seriously, the last thing I need is another hobby. And I went out and played with some friends and had a couple of good shots here and there. I was like, you know what? This is a lot of fun. It's really low cost. It's a nice side hobby to have. Because even traveling, say me and the family go out to Colorado. At this point, the wife does not like me bringing crawlers because it turns into a business trip and I want to go out crawling all the time. And all my friends, they want to come crawl. It does not turn into a fun trip for the wife. But I can bring a couple of discs, and she likes to walk around the park with me. It's only going to be, like 2 hours tops. I'm worn out. I can't throw anymore. I can't walk around anymore. And so it's actually turned into a hobby that I can bring with me on some vacations, which is a nice change because it used to always be the crawlers, and now I can't really do that in good conscience. And and that's nice. You buy, $20 in discs or whatever, and you can get going and playing, and most places are free to play at. So
I've only played once or maybe twice ever. And
and I've only ever played Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah. The discs are a little bit different. You can throw them a lot harder than an Ultimate disc, but there are a lot of Ultimate players that end up transitioning over to disc golf once they essentially get out of college.
Yeah, their knees are shot.
Yeah, all the running around and the throws. It is hard on the body. And when you're out of college, you usually can't keep up with the college kids anymore. So it's not as fun for the competitive types, and they end up getting into disc golf because a lot of people end up having a really good arm for playing Ultimate. And although the throw is a little bit different, there's a completely different form and mechanic to it because discs fly differently. It's still, if you enjoyed playing Ultimate, you may enjoy playing disc golf, actually. It's still throwing in disc.
The only place I ever even heard of Ultimate Frisbee was like MKBHD's channel. Like I didn't even know Ultimate Frisbee was really a thing. Like,
oh, it's a thing, all right.
Evidently.
Have you got any questions on your side there, Josh?
Oh, so many, but they involve Frolfer. How do you say that word?
Frothing. Frothing, yeah. That's the lame term for frisbee golf.
They're not a frisbee.
Oh.
Don't call it a.
Yeah, it's not a frisbee.
Try and catch.
We don't have the name rights for frisbees.
Right. Oh, I thought it was because a frisbee was made to be caught, and you should never try and catch one of these discs.
They generally hurt. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, I played like the edges.
Oh
are
yeah,
like,
you don't want to
they have
catch
some
one.
weight behind them. Like,
Yeah. Except for the Zephyr. The Zephyr is one disc that I throw that's like an old catch disc. It's really old mold. It is heavy. It's like a 200-gram disc, but it flies super slow. You big old platter. It's a big old disc. But that's kind of, nobody throws those anymore. But there's actually a few holes that I throw it on that it glides just right. It'll go straight and it doesn't want to turn out. It'll just take that straight line all the way down. So I guess there's some catch discs, some frisbees.
There's a ton of disc golf courses out here, I guess. And there's some of the RC guys out here who are also disc golfers, or whatever you call yourselves.
It seems to actually have a pretty good amount of bleed over at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't know if it's just because it's the age, the average crawler is 35 to 45, and the average person that plays disc golf is about the same age.
Huh.
That may be it. I don't know. Maybe just causation, but
it could be because those are the only people I associate with, and then I happen to like no way. I swear, everybody I talk to.
Wow, you play disc golf too?
It's like I only talk to RC people, so I'm like, it's crazy. It's like my like everything. Like, look at all these people who play disc golf on Facebook. I'm like, oh wait, they're also crawlers. Like, oh, I'm only friends with people who are crawlers. Like,
right, right,
all makes sense. Well, John, once again, we appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been good.
So thanks for
it's been fun. It's, what time is it? 2.5 hours. Wow.
Yeah, thanks for the
time flies.
The short notice accepting my my text.
Yeah, I was like, what am I going to do tonight? Just sleep. I could go play some disc golf or maybe do some
tend to my chickens.
Yeah.
Tend to chickens. Yeah. Well, see, they get really boring at night. All they do is poop and cluck. Not much going on. I got to put them in the coop so the foxes won't get them, because there's a lot of foxes in my neighborhood right now.
Oh.
Yeah. The realities of the real world.
We had a coyote in our neighborhood, which is pretty strange because I live pretty much right downtown.
I was gonna say, you're a long way from any sort of habitat for that. Wood.
And it was a big coyote.
Huh.
60-pound dog-sized coyote.
I mean, we're John, like Columbia. It's like, well, a coyote could walk through the center of Columbia and be the other side in 20 minutes. Like,
oh yeah, Columbia is pretty small. That's one thing that I do love about it is travel for like 10-15 minutes in just about any direction from the city, and you're in county.
Right. It's a college town.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yep. I love it.
So.
Well, is that it? Are we calling it?
Yeah, I think we are in. We've done our best.
We hit peak.
We did it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Done stamp. Boom. Yes, as always, again, thanks, John. We'll I'm sure we'll have you back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, John. It's been a real pleasure, and
You too.
great to finally face to face with you a little bit. I won't try reaching out on Messenger anymore.
Yes, you can ask your questions publicly, or send them through the website. They'll get to me if they need to.
Oh, I'll just get Josh to give me your cell phone number.
It's here. I've got it right here.
Oh yeah, just call it out. Call it out loud. Actually, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Got it written on my hand.
Well, it's been fun, guys.
All right. Thanks again. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Wrapped Graphics, thanks for the $20. Much appreciated. Not expected, but thank you. And we'll see everybody again next week. You want to keep doing this?
I mean, why not? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something to do on a Wednesday.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
See you guys.